Go ahead. What were you going to say, Michael?
I need to share that link, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, not the link. You need to share the thing. Hold on a second, though. Hey, everybody. So we are live, and we will start the official discussion in about 5 or 10 minutes. So we're going to just BS for a little bit and give everybody a chance to share. If you're watching, please share the live video, and we'll start the official discussion in a minute. So did you see, Michael, where I tagged you in a comment? You need me to do it again?
No, I think I got it.
Okay. So Jesse Hayes told me that I need to share like the show's live as the show is going, like periodically, and that will help us grow our viewer base. So I'm gonna make it a point to do that.
All right, I'm about to mute for a hot second.
Okay. So for those of us who are joining us early on, we're just getting everything shared and getting everything in position, but the official discussion will start soon. And I think I'm the only one not muted right now while everybody gets the live together and everybody shares the video. I'm just trying to find it myself so I can share it. If you're watching, help us out and share it so we can have a real strong audience when we start the official discussion. Looks like we've got some people watching already.
All right, I think I did it.
Okay, I'm still trying to figure out how to do it the way Jesse told me to do it. So I might be the holdup this time around.
Calvin, what city are you in?
He might be muted as well. I know he had
Sorry. Yeah, I'm in Chicago, Windy City.
Right on, man. Do you live there?
Yeah, man. Born and raised.
I had no idea.
Yes, sir.
I don't know why I thought you was from Houston.
Oh, no.
Houston?
I don't know why.
That one's maybe because there's a lot of those like upper echelon gospel drummers like Sput and trying to think of who else, Terry Baker, maybe.
Bunch of them are kind of down south. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, Sput is from Dallas. Mm-hmm. Terry Baker lives in Dallas now.
Okay.
Chris Davis from Houston. So
right, I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to come.
I mean, I guess that's a huge compliment if that's maybe why you thought I was from Texas.
Lil Jon's from where though?
Lil Jon is actually from like DC or Baltimore, I think.
I thought he was East Coast.
Okay. All right.
I think I'm sorry. Lil Jon is from Philly.
You're right about that because we knew a couple of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I did this right with the sharing. So let me get back to the StreamYard page and we can see. We got a pretty solid audience already. What's up, Charles Hayes? What's up, Brandy, Diane, Roderick, Mark, Lamont? We'll get started in a little bit. We'll give people time to get here. Again, the number one thing you can do to help us out is like and share the video so more people see it, so we can have a great audience. How do I close that? Oh, Tyrus Sass is here. What's up, Tyrus? He's one of Mike Hicks' people. I know Michael Bland knows Mike Hicks. Do you know Mike Hicks, Calvin?
I do not.
He's an artist.
Oh, yeah, Nashville, keyboard player. Play Rascal Flatts and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me just make sure I did all the proper sharing as well because I'm still learning to do the stuff that.
Yeah, these are mostly your friends, Dan. I ain't none of.
Oh, the Brandy's there and Diane's there and we got some people.
Okay.
Yeah, we got
and Charles Hayes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually I just sort of throw out a BS question while we're waiting on everybody to get here and everything like that. So my BS question for today is: if you drink coffee, how do you take your coffee? And if you don't drink coffee, what do you drink instead?
Well, I am a coffee drinker. I spend way too much money at Starbucks. So my drink is usually a macchiato with an extra shot of espresso and a couple of pumps of toffee nut, made with almond milk.
Hold on a second, because I got to stop what I'm doing real quick and just show you something.
Uh-oh.
So in my kitchen, I have a bottle of Starbucks toffee nut syrup.
Oh man, okay.
And it's because I couldn't duplicate the flavor that I wanted at home without it. So I think I'm looking to see if we did all the proper sharing, and I really can't tell. Facebook's changing so many things that I don't know what to look for anymore.
Yeah, they're trying to take us. What's happening.
But I'm gonna assume that we did, and I'm still gonna continue to share the video. Actually, you know what? I'm dumb. I should just go to Michael and Calvin's page and make sure the video's there, and then at least I'll know that it's there.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on my page, I believe.
It's I'm not seeing it on the C-Rod page, but I am seeing it on the
Really?
Oh no, there it is. I think tune in to watch live. There we go. Yeah, my fault. I told you I'm dumb when I'm learning this stuff. So yeah, I have this at home, and I had to get it through Amazon, I think, or one of those online sites. But I want you to. I'll have to make a note of what your Starbucks order is, because the only thing that I really love at Starbucks, and I only get it once in a blue moon, in part because I don't want to give money to Starbucks, and in part because of the fact that it's not healthy, is I get a Java chip Frappuccino and add toffee nut. And that's like my special coffee thing, but I only do that at most like once a week.
I try to only do Starbucks twice a week. Now, I was working in ministry full time for a year, and I was drinking Starbucks sometime twice a day. But I was having like 16-hour days, and I was dealing with church people all day.
Wow.
And that will either drive you to drink coffee or alcohol.
Or both. You can put a little Bailey in
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So
Michael, you drink coffee, Michael?
I'm not really like a coffee achiever. If I do Starbucks, it's usually just the nitro cold brew. Either like with the vanilla cream or black. I'm just trying to get the caffeine. I'm not really trying to.
Yeah. When I'm working out consistently, I drink black coffee like straight in the morning before I go to the gym. Just a cup of straight black coffee in the morning.
A lot of people are putting their own coffee in the comments. Yeah. This is proven to be a great icebreaker question.
I got a bunch of friends in here.
Oh yeah,
I see a bunch of my people in there.
So this is my homemade for today, which is a mocha a coconut mocha K-cup with a little bit of that Starbucks toffee nut syrup, and that's my at home. So what time is it? Oh yeah, it's 7:05. We're ready to start the official show. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce my co-host, all the way on the far right.
The finger thing that I haven't.
No,
I gotta do that.
I don't know how many shows it's gonna take. We're not gonna figure it out.
I'm convinced it's brain damage.
Could be. So my co-host happens to be ranked by many modern drum publications as the best drummer in the world. I've
seen it, and you want to say that in front of Calvin? Great.
It's true. We'll get.
I agree. I voted.
We'll get the Calvin. Eater of plant-based foods, and
you're right about that.
So did your wife?
Jackfruit.
You tried jackfruit. My wife wants to hear about that because she made me some jackfruit.
Oh yeah, it was full on, man. I'm sorry, I didn't let you finish your intro.
Oh well, we never finished the intros, Michael.
Oh, that's right. It was delicious. It was like my wife put it in the crock pot with some carrots and some celery and some potatoes, and it was just like beef stew.
Jackfruit.
Jackfruit. So my wife actually, Michael's actually going full on plant-based diet. My wife bought it because with all the pandemic, it's been harder to get quality meat in the grocery store. So she wanted to find a meat alternative. And apparently you get jackfruit and you shred it like a pulled pork or a pulled beef.
That's
and it has the texture and consistency of meat. And then you flavor it the same way you would meat. It wasn't as good as her roast, but it was close. I was really impressed.
It's real close. It's real close. The main thing you're getting away from is the grease. The animal fat is really the enemy in my case. So we're just cutting it out. I mean,
I'm gonna have to try that.
We're not off bread and pasta yet, but someday.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I could probably do that easier than going off meat, but just finishing. That's what I say.
But I'm telling you what. I remember when Des Dickerson did the what's the diet? The meat only diet.
Atkins.
Yes. And he was like, you know what, man? It's not really the meat isn't what you miss. The carbs are what make you feel full. But I don't know. I guess whatever works for whoever.
So drummer of drums, eater of plants, and one of my favorite people in the world, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bland. Michael, you want to introduce our guest?
I thought I was supposed to introduce you first.
Oh yeah. You got to introduce me.
He's just off the program. Calvin, you got him nervous, man.
I'm not nervous.
He hails. Yeah, you are. He hails from Madison, Wisconsin. Player of organs, chunker of guitars,
drinker of coffee,
filled, in ministry, not afraid of black people. Survivor of COVID-19, great musician, even greater friend, Dan Spiffy Neuman, ladies and gentlemen, over there.
Thank you, Mr. Michael Bland.
Over there, yeah.
So you want to introduce our guest, or should I?
I think you probably. I mean, y'all got the Kojic connection. Just go ahead and. Rub him up on the church side.
I was going to say, if Michael Bland is one of, if not the greatest drummer in the world of his generation, then our guest is the greatest drummer in the world of his generation, and definitely in gospel music. I'm privileged because I'm sharing the show this week with two living legends, Mr. Calvin Rodgers.
Let me say something straight off the bat.
What you got, Michael?
Was it that early on, is it a Kim Burrell record?
Yeah, maybe with me and Sput.
Yeah, that's the one to let me know the game was changing. That I was time for me to go sit down somewhere.
No way, man. No way.
All I heard about was Calvin. Like the little committee we got in town, Brandon Commodore, Smitty, Eric Fowler, all them cats were like, man, you heard Calvin.
Those are my buddies, man.
Yeah, and yes, I've heard Calvin. Now I've heard it.
That's a huge compliment.
Everybody else jumped on. That's a huge compliment. I don't care who wants to contest that, but almost everybody else was doing a variation on, your aesthetic. Your approach, what they couldn't get though, Calvin, was the fact that you don't have to do all that.
Yeah.
See, a lot of cats rely on that, and I heard a couple of tracks that was like, Calvin is a disciple of the group.
Well, yeah, Calvin, I mean,
is every snare drum gets its value. Everybody can't do that.
Yeah, I really young, I knew I wanted to be a recording musician, so I started studying guys on records. I just almost immediately, as soon as I knew what I wanted to. I've always known I wanted to be in music. I always knew I wanted to play drums. But then at a very early age, I knew I wanted whatever I did to be here longer than me. Mm-hmm. So I started studying those guys, man. Joel Smith, and at an early age, three musicians that really changed my life just from listening to them on records was Joel Smith, Ricky Lawson, and Will Kennedy.
Oh yes.
And my dad was a musician, and grew up in church. He was a church guy, but he was a fan of all music, and so I was listening to like the Jackets. I was listening to some Ricky Peterson. I was listening to some Bob James, to Joe Sample. So I was I was playing along to a lot of that stuff. And then, and I always I always knew, like, man, this is what I want. I never really wanted to, like, I wasn't crazy about like concerts and things like that, because I'm like, if you don't go, then it's just over with. All you have is what someone can tell you about it. But I was just like, man, and this, I mean, there are people, there are musicians that are going to be generations and generations behind you, behind me, behind Dan, that will forever be able to my grandson, I have a 1-year-old grandson now. My grandson will be able to at some point give his son diamonds and pearls. Oh. You know what I'm saying? Me and you, we'll be hanging out in heaven maybe, 70, 80 years from now, whenever, but his grandkid, or however long that looks like. But that's going to go on and live on far past however long we're going to be here. And I just knew I wanted to do that early. So, I started studying those musicians that were really good at it. And Ricky Lawson was one of them. He was just one of them. He was one of my favorites. And sure, I got into him, watching him live after I started hearing him on records. So, yeah, man.
I got you, man. The door opener for me was Steve Jordan on the Late Night with David Letterman show. The day that I stayed up late enough to watch that show, I didn't miss an episode after that. I'm like,
yeah, I got all of that stuff late, man, but yeah. I'm hip to it. I definitely have gone back and studied Steve from that, and to just even see his evolution, you know what I'm saying? See how much, I mean, the dude's always been bad, but to see his brain and him, to, see how his mind has evolved, watching him be such a bad dude on that Letterman show, but then being able to see him go like, man, this guy can play a half note on the kick drum and a whole note on the snare drum for an entire record, and it's just like the greatest drum track ever.
Oh yeah.
So, testament to what you're saying, man. It's cool to have chops and everything.
How much older am I than you?
Well, I'm 41. I'll be 42 in November.
Okay, I'm about 10 years older than you. So that explains a couple of things, because for me, it wasn't even so much a matter of, I remember when the Yellow Jackets came out, and I remember who were the other cats you brought up?
We said Ricky Peterson.
Like Foreplay.
Well, I played on a couple of
Peterson. Really?
Yeah, I played on a record called A Tear Can Tell. There's a remake of What You Won't Do for Love.
Oh yeah. So I've got like a compilation record with that on there.
Okay. Yeah, I played on that. It was me and another really great drummer from Minneapolis named Gordy Knudsen. Gordy was the cat when I was coming up. He was the cat in town, and so a lot of my early opportunity came from when he'd leave town, or when Bobby Vandell, who played with Bobby, I think played with Alexander O'Neill, and he also played. I don't think he played with the Jets, but these cats, they started leaving town around the time that I was coming up and into the scene. So wow. They left space for me to grow and kind of get it. My first real recording session was with Ricky Peterson, and Tommy LaPuma was the producer. So I was I was nervous as all. I was 17, and man, I didn't know what I was doing. But
man, it's something about that thing where, you know, when you're young like that and you just you're able to make that decision, like, hey, it's either now or never, you know.
yeah,
That's a great thing to be in, man. I had a lot of preparation, but nothing kind of prepares you for that moment still.
right.
You know, I had a lot of people here in Chicago, man, that really, really helped me prepare for those moments. But still, when it actually happened, you know, there's just that thing, that jitter inside you and that adrenaline, and it can almost overtake you. So,
You're
you
right.
know, but
These were like, man, it was I
can only imagine Tommy LaPuma. I mean, that dude is serious. He's big time.
I worked with him again in '95. George Benson cut a record at Paisley Park, and I played on it along with Ricky and his brother Paul. And that really tripped me out because I had been listening to George Benson since I was a kid. And man, that session. It was Tommy and George. They sold 30 million records together.
Yeah.
So I was just like, ooh, I'm just going to sit out here and, you know, keep my mouth shut and play what they tell me to play and, you know, laugh at all the jokes and just kind of try not to get kicked out. And that might have been the most money I ever made for a week of recording. That was incredible.
Wow.
But just George Benson hanging around and just, you know, I mean, that's a lot of hits and that's a lot of great drummers. So, you know, I'm always, you know, as of late, it has more to do with just kind of getting on with it. But then I would reflect on who these people worked with before. I worked for Shaka for a little while, and that tripped me out because I'm like, okay, JR, Steve Ferrone, Charlie Drayton, even for a while. You know, it's like those aren't easy shoes to fill. When you know what she's used to, she walking past the drum riser talking about take a long solo tonight. Like, oh, Shaka, man, that was a head.
I actually toured with Shaka for a year.
Yeah, same year.
For like back in maybe like 2000 and maybe 8 or so, 2007, 2008.
Who was the MD? Was it Melvin at the time?
Cornell Thigpen. Cornell Thigpen is a guy. He's from Wisconsin. He's kind of from Chicago and from Milwaukee, but he was he played with Babyface and he played with Mary J. Blige for a while, and that was how he got the Shaka thing. And initially, my little brother Rex Hardy was doing Shaka with him because they were together. Okay, and then Shaka ended up calling Cornell back to MD it, and Rex was still doing Mary. And so I went out with her for about a year, and it was interesting. I mean, so to your point, Shaka comes in rehearsal one day in Chicago. We're having a rehearsal, and she walks in, she looks at the bass player and goes, "Hey, what's that song that all the bass players play all the time? Like, what's the bass player song? Like, what's that song?" And the bass player is a guy named Eric Ingram. He lives in LA now, but Eric is like, he was like, "Are you talking about Teen Town?" And she's like, "How's it going?" He starts playing it. She was like, "Yeah, that's one. Play that." Like, that's not a song you just tell somebody to play, but like, so she starts playing it and like going back and forth with the bass player, scatting the parts, and I'm like, "Whoa, man, this godly." And she was, you know, she was very, very like, she knows her music. You know what I'm saying? You could tell that she old school. She know her parts. She know what she wants. She knows what she's looking for. Yeah. She knows where to let you kind of deviate from what you can do, how you can, you know, embellish her music. Then she knows what parts should be exactly like her record. So it was really cool, you know, getting to play with her. It was very, very brief, just for a year, but it was still it was very fun, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I got you, man. For me, it was really like I grew up on those records. My oldest sister Sandra, she's got the same birthday as Shaka and the same age, so all that Ferrone pocket playing and all that. That's what I was used to. And I got on the gig and I was like, oh, I changed everything. I'm like, I'm going to need a 24-inch kick, 12, 13, 16. And Melvin looked back like, man, is that kick drum bigger than 20? Yeah, man. You're going to play like Anthony Jackson. I got to, I got to get in that range with you. I got to play like Steve when it's appropriate.
I feel you.
But Chaka, she tripped me out, man, because I went to dinner with her after my first rehearsal. We went to some place, and they were playing Fresh by Sly and the Family Stone over the PA. And she knew every note, everything about it. And then the next day, I went to her house for lunch, and she was cutting up vegetables in the kitchen and playing some Keith Jarrett record. And she scattered along for like 60 bars.
That's great. Yeah, man.
Right hand. Chaka is no joke, man. She's a real musician. She is nobody to play with. She's
thorough, very thorough, man. She got some chops and sharp. She's super sharp. Great, great performer. And, she had great songs, of course. And, sometimes just in music, you don't know what it is with some of these artists. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how far to the extent. But she's, she was one of the old school ones. Like she for real can get down. Yeah,
she can sing it. She don't care what key you're gonna do it in.
Yeah,
she'll adjust. Ricky Minor told me that one time. He said Chaka can sing in any key. I kept trying to ask her, "This is comfortable for me?" She said, "If it's comfortable, good for you, it's good for me." And no matter where he put the key, she never complained. She got, she just did her thing. And the other thing is that I got upset when people started trying to say, like, oh, Erykah Badu's the new Chaka. Like, listen, the thing that Chaka knows how to do that a lot of them other singers don't know how to do is she listens to the band. She's listening to everything that's being played around her. You can tell that
she is.
Playing.
Yep.
She's listening
definitely
to everything. And a lot of these other folks, I didn't even mean to really put Erykah out there specifically, but I'm just saying Chaka is like Ella Fitzgerald or somebody.
The
music is so strong in her that she's communicating like the other musicians are to each other.
Like the cats on stage with axes. That's her instrument. Like for real, legit. Exactly. That's her instrument.
And she's I hear you. I hear that, and she'll get with it. Put that Chaka. She put the wiggle on it. But the funniest was we started playing Ain't Nobody in rehearsal, and that dance she does, the Chaka,
yes.
The booty dance. And she said, "Hey, drummer." I don't think she knew my name exactly yet. "Hey, drummer, are you watching my booty?" I said, "Yes, Chaka. I'm watching. You keeping time with my booty?" Yes, Chaka. I'm keeping time with your booty.
Man,
doing the Chaka dance.
Yeah. That's something I played with Aretha Franklin too for a little while, and she had this thing where like we got to the end of the show at night. She was trying to tell me, she said, "When I slap my ass, I want you to crash that cymbal." So, I'm like, So
some of them older ladies, they raw, Calvin.
Oh yeah,
they're a little bit raw.
Yeah. But, Chaka was one of my first ones out the gate where I was just kind of like I was able to get I was just like when I played with Kels for a little while, but I didn't really get into much. You know what I'm saying? I was a little bit older then when I hung out with Chaka and I was playing with her and her guys and. So it was just one of the first times like I started, seeing how to, what I just getting into like other stuff, being on the road, hanging out, learning other things about other people, seeing sites and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Hanging out, maybe go check out clubs,
That's a lot of Chicago, I'm realizing, man. You are much like myself. It's like I'm always doubling back to somebody from my region.
Really?
I play in Soul Asylum now. I've been in that band for 15 years. I mean, worked with Prince, worked with Paul Westerberg, Ricky Peterson. It's that thing where it's like some people just move to LA and call it. And I kind of did, I always found myself wanting to work with people who came up the way I came up and had the same work ethic I got. Otherwise, I get frustrated. you know. And actually, the gig that I did after Shaka, I actually left Shaka to go on tour with Maxwell, and she was mad about that, boy. But that was a completely different experience because them cats, you know, he ain't that kind of a leader. But his musical director, Daryl Diaz, I don't know if you know Daryl or not.
I don't. Is he still his music director?
I don't think so anymore.
Okay.
But
okay.
He was basically the MD, but it's like even the MD, it's like if you don't have the same kind of standards as the artist, you know, if you're not shooting for the same goal, things are going to be kind of different. And I think some of those people have been on the gig for a while and they were kind of relaxed and, you know, they were like, we got 3.5 weeks to put this show together. Fortunate came out and went to #1. So it revived its career. Otherwise, that Embryo record would have, you know, that sophomore effort wouldn't have saved him. So they were in a hurry to get out on the road. And I see people, you know, okay, we're supposed to rehearse from, you know, noon till about 7 or 8. And around 7:30, I know people start visibly looking at their watch, you know, and talking about they got plans and hey, I got to be over on Crenshaw by, you know. And I was like, wow, is that really how it goes down in LA? Like, the first real gig I had was with Prince, and whether you work with Prince or not, you know, you rehearse till it's right. You don't rehearse till, don't even look at the clock. Don't bother.
Yeah, that's the way it was with my first one out the gate was R. Kelly, and we were supposed like the rehearsals were initially supposed to be from like noon to midnight. And Rob wouldn't show up until like 10 p.m. So we end up going to like 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? So then they moved the rehearsals to like we started doing like 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Then he'd show up at midnight. Then you know. So but you know, but before then I was playing with Pastor Key, and it was just like you slept when it was time to sleep. Whenever you got done, you know, we were tracking all night, we rehearsing, we recording. You know, you went to sleep after whenever we were finished. You know, and some musicians now, I was just telling a friend of mine, I was working on a project, and I was working on this one project, and some of the guys were like, we're making a record, and some of the guys like, yeah, I gotta go and I gotta do this. I'm doing this tonight, and I'm like, yeah, we making a record. Like, how this? And again, you know, I take records seriously, and I'm like, bro, this is gonna be here long after you gone. You know what I'm saying? So you may want to make sure it's your best. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's got to be perfect. I'm not looking for perfection. I just want your best. You know, so but it's just, you know, it's different now. It's, you know, and I see that a lot of times, and I know I can understand what you mean when saying, you know, you get to work and you go and work with another group of guys, and the caliber and, you know, all of that kind of diminishes a little bit. It drops down a little bit, and it makes it super, super hard. And sometimes you're like, oh man, well, cool. You know, I ain't got to work hard like I usually do. But then you're like, at the same time, like, well, wait a minute. Anybody that knows I'm on stage is going to come, and they're going to expect this. They know where I set the bar. So they're going to expect that by knowing I'm there, you know? And so I don't want nobody to come and be like, oh man, I knew Michael Bland was in the band. I was expecting more. I thought Calvin was playing. I was expecting more than that. I don't want nobody leaving that and leaving that fate. Sometimes, you know, as drummers, we're always leaving our fate in somebody else's hand. You know what I'm saying? Because we're usually the last ones people listen to or consider. You know, before we became, it's more popular for us to be leaders now. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of more drummers, you know, producing and MDing and things like that. But for a long time, especially with me playing the gospel music, the drummers were the last ones to be considered. My fate was always left up to somebody else. And I hated that. I hated that. That's why I got into MDing and arranging and producing, because I was taking too many L's that weren't my fault, you know? So I was just like, oh man, they're not gonna get me this time. I'm gonna be in charge. I'm gonna run this thing. I'm gonna make sure it's right.
Exactly.
So,
and that's how it's been for me. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I was Prince's musical director, but once Levi like left town completely, it was kind of like if there was an interview he didn't want to do, I had to do it. It was like I was held accountable. And then after I was out, pretty much it was, Morris Hayes took over. But but I was gonna say about the Maxwell gig. Yeah, some people, we played in Minneapolis, and some cats were like, "Oh, that wasn't really what I was expecting, man." I'm like, well, "What were you expecting? Have you heard his music? It's 98 beats per minute all night." I mean, it's like, well, I just expected you to really, like, what exactly? I'm a team player. I'm not playing for personal glory. I'm trying to do the job the best way it can be done. And that, it shook me for a hot minute, but then I went back to, you know what? I'm not playing for y'all in the first place. Like it's, and actually I resent going to see a drummer who's playing for the other drummers in the room, to be honest. Like, play the music, man.
Play the music.
Now if the music calls for you to go ahead and just then go. Sometimes that's what you do. But on Maxwell's gig, that's space. That's for grown women. You don't come in there trying to do the monkey shine and whatnot. It wasn't about me. I was just trying to lock to that computer, and play support. So but yeah, they'll I had a few cats came up like, I don't know, man. It wasn't like what you normally do. It's because I'm versatile. That's why I wasn't like what I normally do.
Yeah.
Does having frustrating for any of you? Calvin, do you see? You want to answer?
Yeah. It definitely can get frustrating a little bit. Especially just sometimes. I'll tell you where it gets a little frustrating with me is when I work with people. Sometimes I have personal relationship with. That's where it takes the most of my patience, because just sometimes, when you're cool with people, everybody's just, it's like, oh, it's cool. We boys. So I'm gonna get it. And like, yeah, I know you're gonna get it, but I can't just go and tell it to an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I was Fred Hammond's music director for a long time. And all of the guys that were in the band, we were like this. We were all close.
That could be dangerous
sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, I just have to be like, I had to like drop the hammer. And everybody would be like, yo, and I'm like, yeah, listen, I know what you do. I know what you're capable of. I know you're, you know what I'm saying? I know you're still low. I know how you usually do it. So, but I can't go to the artist and tell him that. I can't tell him, hey man, this cat is gonna skip rehearsal early. He's gonna jet out early. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna bail. But he'll come back and know it. You know what I'm saying? He's be like, well, he's here today and he didn't know it. So what's wrong with today? What's wrong with him doing it now?
Yeah, no. I like to cash my checks when I see them. I don't, and that's why my circle has always been kind of small, because I'm the opposite, or maybe not the opposite, but for me, I gotta, if I gotta put pressure on my friends to make them do right, then that's where we're going, and especially if I'm in the position, if I've been given the authority. But I'm after something. I'm trying to vibrate higher, and that's why I'm so choosy about. I'm just old now, so I play with who I want to play with. But so it's never frustrating for me. But I can frustrate other musicians real quick. I got perfect pitch. I play keys a little bit. I play some bass. And I'm a strong study. So the cats around me know, because I'll tell them, hey, that's a natural. That's not a flat.
I can speak from experience. Michael knows every instrument's part, and if you're not playing it right, he will tell you.
Yeah. And they shouldn't be for me to do that. I mean, if I wouldn't have to say nothing if you knew what you were doing. So
you knew what you were doing. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, let's all enjoy. Let's come prepared. Rehearsal is not for learning. Don't learn on my time.
Yeah.
I don't like that,
man. Yeah.
And JT's in the comments. All true. He's saying,
yeah.
I got no problem with JT because we after the same thing. There has to be agreement. There has to be agreement in what the goals are for me these days. I can't just. I don't know, man. I'm not trying to teach nobody, but I'm definitely trying to be an example. So, it just, when I was a younger man, I just start hollering about it or just, put them on front of me. I've learned that ain't necessarily the right way to get the results out of people.
Yeah.
But some people really take that personal, and, I'm really like, I'm not even thinking about you. I'm listening. I'm listening for what you're doing, and so, I may have, ruffled a few feathers in my day, but, everybody knows I'd rather they know and not mess with me.
Yeah.
Like don't come to me if you don't know what you're doing, So
I mean, I can dig that. I feel like now as being older, I know how to be a little bit. I think I figured out how to get the best out of guys. You know what I'm saying? You know how not to kill a guy, kill the morale of a guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that could be extreme. But I grew up, man. Guys were tough when I was coming up. I grew up in church, and that was if you couldn't play, it was like get off, man. And some of it was just about growing up in church. Dan, some of it is about. You just weren't old enough. It didn't even matter if you were the better guy. Some of it was just about them teaching you patience, them teaching you to wait your turn, them teaching you humility. You know what I'm saying? Some of it was just about that. So it didn't matter how good you were. It was just like, man, we're going to make sure we instill morals in you, instill values in you, make sure you don't grow up and have, the big head because you think you're good. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be someone better than you. And it may be something you chops in everything. And that's what I was getting ready to say. Sometimes it'll be a guy that you're better than, it'll still get the gig. So you got to learn to
go ahead. Sorry.
you got to learn what it takes for different gigs. You got to learn to be diverse. You want to be able to be multifaceted, be able to play any and everything. You know what I'm saying? So for you to be able to go from Prince to Maxwell, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that shows worlds of going from Maxwell to Shaka. You know what I'm saying? Going from Ricky Peterson to all these other gigs. It's like, man, you got to be able to switch. You got to be able to change hats. You definitely got to be able to wear a different hat in each and every one of those scenarios because none of those gigs are anything alike. Not one of them.
They really aren't.
Hearing you say, from the beginning, like when you start playing with Shaka, changing the drum tones, you know what I'm saying, going there, it's like
I wanted to give her what she was familiar with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if Melvin's gonna play like that, he's got a Ken Smith bass and everything.
Yeah.
Like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to be in agreement. Is that's where we're going today? That's where y'all like to like to hang out. I'm fine with it. I just want the artist to feel comfortable. I start usually with whatever the music is that I'm familiar with of their repertoire. I start with it where in whatever form I'm familiar with, and I'll stay there until I feel comfortable enough to sort of interject and and spread out and kind of find a new way, find my own way to express it. But yeah, I mean, even working for Prince, the first year it was like being in a cover band,
Yeah,
I
sure.
just Kiss,
Yeah.
It's so. Yeah, you really have to be in it to play what's appropriate first. I feel. And a lot of cats just kind of go past that, and they hired me for what I do. Yeah, that's true to a certain extent, but just saying, you know what I'm saying, Calvin.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Discretion is important.
Discretion is important, and we have to, we have to realize, man, there's a such thing as being a great side man, and so as much as Tony Williams was an artist, he was still an incredible side man.
Oh yeah,
yeah, as great as a drummer as Will Kennedy is, he's still a great sideman. Same as Bob James, same as Ricky Lawson. So those guys, these are all guys that had. I mean, and you think about it, that's what they started at. So all these guys that go to being great artists start by knowing how to follow. And there's that old, saying that if you can't be a great leader if you don't know how to be a great follower. So
I was about to say that, Calvin. That's about 3 or 4 now. You caught me before I got a chance to say it now. All right. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm just we have a lot in common.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I want to go back to Joel Smith, because Joel Smith was one of the most influential musicians of my childhood. I played that Love Alive 2 record every Sunday after church for years, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, that Diamonds and Pearls fill in the middle of that song, it's a slight adaptation to some of Joel's type of, when he used to do the blackity.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I just kind of twisted it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
man.
That cat was everything when I was coming up.
So I was talking about recording and how I knew I wanted to do that. And I have this very, very vivid memory of my childhood. Every Saturday morning, my family, every Saturday morning, I'd get up in the morning, I'd watch cartoons, and then I'd sit in front of the radio and air drum. We had a FM gospel music station, and they Saturday nights had like long music. They played music for a long time. It started at like 5 p.m. with this pastor named Charles Hayes. Actually, I saw somebody named Charles Hayes in the comments, but there was a pastor named Charles Hayes. He'd come on at like 5 or something like that, or maybe it was like 3 or 4, something like that. And then you had like him, and then you had this guy named Elder Willie James Campbell. And so, but I'd be in front of the radio all day.
Yeah.
But before the evening time, I just go to my dad's record collection. And one Saturday morning, I'm flipping through my dad's records, and I come across Love Alive 2. And I put this record on. I'm sitting in front of it, and I'm like, the first couple of songs, I'm playing along, and then Until I Found the Lord comes on, bro.
Why did I know you were going to go right there? Yeah, okay.
Man. Until I Found the Lord comes on, and I become paralyzed. Like, I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I was just sitting stone faced and bodied in front of the stereo, in front of the record player. And I had this feeling that I could not explain. Like, I just heard whatever I'd heard, whatever just happened, whatever I heard just overwhelmed me and took over my mind, took over my body. And I was just like, my heart was beating fast, man, all of this stuff. And I was just like, however I feel right now, that's what I want. I want people to feel. And it was conviction. I just believed every single thing he played on that song.
Oh yeah.
I believed every note he played. Like, I felt like, and I became a friend of Joe. I became a little brother of him later on. But I mean, that 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old Joe, man, whew, I mean, he was a killer. He was a killer. Like, he was cold, man. He was cold, and he just had it was just like, man, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. And that song just really just tore it up for me, man. And so one thing, for years, I came home and I played that song every single day. But then I also, that it just really around 11 or 12, I was just like, this is what I want to do. I want to play. I'm like, I started realizing I've been playing the same song every day for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And this guy lives in Oakland, California, somewhere I'll probably never ever go. I'm just like, I was 8 or 9 years old, and I'm like, I'll never meet this guy, but he has no idea the impact he has on me. And I want to be able to do that. That's what I want to be able to do. So Joel really sparked that thing in me, man. He really lit that fire. That's where it came from. And I was just like, and so you were saying, man, you were like, man, I play for who I want to play for now. And you were talking about, going to LA. And I remember when I finished my tour with R. Kelly, we finished coming over from going overseas, and a friend of mine, my buddy, was like, it's actually Teddy Campbell, was like, man, what are you gonna do? Maybe you can come to LA now. You just finished your tour, you come to LA, try to find some other gigs. And I was just like, I don't really, if I'm honest, I didn't really like playing with R. Kelly. It was great for my resume. I learned a lot, but as a drummer, it was, I just didn't really connect with that. And I just wanted, I'm like, I want to play music I connect with, I want to play music I enjoy. I want to play music where I can be able to be expressive. I just didn't, it wasn't enjoyable for me. And so I didn't go to LA. I started playing a bunch of gospel records. I started, and then I eventually, I started doing a lot of recording, and then I started just for like a period of like 3 years, man. I did records. I did so many albums. So that's just what I was focused on. And I was in, getting into jingles and things like that right before all of that shut down. But I was getting into that. And then, I let the Fred thing happen. And I was steady working with a bunch of gospel artists. I started working with Donald Lawrence, and I'm tracking a bunch of records with him. And now people in Chicago are knowing me for being a session guy. So, and then, more and more people, I'm getting connected with guys in Nashville now, and guys in DC who are finding out that Calvin really knows how to cut records. He knows how to play records, and that's his focus. That's what he loves to do. And people were enjoying it. So that's just kind of what I did. And I was so glad, as an adult now, I'm just really glad that I made that decision young, deciding that, I don't want to be a guy that chases gigs or chases money, because I just think that as a musician, when you do that, the very moment you decide to do something as a musician that you really don't want to do, you do it for money, I don't know, I feel like you never stop at that point. I feel like
it depends on how much money you're talking about. Now, I've been there, Calvin. Yes.
Really?
I've been on the precipice of making some real money a couple of times before, and it fell through. I was supposed to tour with Madonna back in 2001, but she did a major. I was rehearsing on that Sony movie lot in Culver City for about 3 days, and then
I feel like, one of my buddies from James McGregor, Magoo.
Oh, Goo? Yeah, man. Goo was my friend.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So I was touring with Rob around the same time. So he was. I remember him saying that you were going out with Madonna. Yeah. I remember him saying that.
And then they fired like 12 people. The next day was like me, and Michael Bearden was the one who really got me on the gig. Yeah. So it was like I definitely wasn't staying if he was going. So they just kind of cleared. I don't want to say the black folks out, but she was after a different aesthetic, and her tour manager just said, listen, she's going in this other direction. There's going to be a guy playing drum pads. It's she's convinced you're not gonna enjoy this. It's not gonna really even, it's like what you do, you'd be wasting your time doing this. So, they paid me a nice little severance, and I spent Madonna's money for the summer. But and really, I mean, the only reason to do it was for the money. Really, I mean, it's not that I don't like her music. Is
it the money or is it the resume though?
Well, it's that too. I mean, I almost did MJ also, And in that case, it was like the whole time I'm like, I'm gonna be the first cat to play with Prince and Michael Jackson. I'm gonna be the only person who's gonna be able to say that. And Sonny Emery just kind of he elbowed his way onto the gig. He was in LA. I was still in Minneapolis. He elbowed his way onto the gig, and then Earth, Wind, and Fire came calling me. Hey,
wow.
Bill Bailey tracked me down in LA and said, hey, how would you feel about going out with the Fire this summer? I said, well, I ain't got nothing else going on because apparently, Sonny's playing with Michael Jackson, so I understand why you're calling, And then Michael came into rehearsal and said, "Where's Sugarfoot at?" I said, "Call Jonathan. He knows my songs." So Sonny went back to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I went back to having no gig.
Whoa!
And it was that week that Shaka called. Her tour manager called me. So
wow.
That was a weird time, man.
Wow. Yeah, I've noticed. I've noticed. Like I've only seen Mike with 2 drummers ever.
It was Ricky Lawson and Sugarfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure why they didn't just cut to the chase and call him in the first place.
In the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Ricky was great with Michael Jackson too, but I mean.
Yeah. I loved man, I remember as a kid, I remember like HBO airing the Live in Bucharest concert. Like I remember watching it on HBO when they aired it. And man, there's a part on that show where like where Mike dances on Billie Jean, and it's just drums for like it's like 10 minutes, but it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, right.
And Ricky doesn't move, man. He doesn't move. And I'm like, this guy is, I mean, he was just locked in. And, as drummers, we tend to just like after a while, okay, 16 bars, maybe 32. Maybe you get a little splash or a little tom or something, sizzle on the hi-hat or something. Mm-hmm. Ricky didn't move, man, the whole time. And I just took that and I took that and I started applying it to myself. I spent hours a day just playing like to a clock. Mm-hmm. And just playing that groove, not moving. And then ultimately, when I started having students, I made my guys do it. Guys that I was trying to, guys that I was teaching or I was mentoring, some 200 bars a day, and don't play anything. Kick, snare, hi-hat. Right. Don't play anything extra. 200 bars, get in every day. So, I did that for some years,
Yeah.
But the huge, seeing him on that concert, man, was just like, and listening to him on that thing. And I remember seeing all the posters in the music stores back in the day with Ricky and things like that. I remember some kind of way. I remember like seeing Ricky like for a Rolex on it. Like I remember looking at a magazine and seeing him in a magazine that wasn't a drum magazine. And I'm like, they're like Ricky Lawson's Michael. I'm like, why they have Michael Jackson's drummer in this picture with a watch? But that's how large he was, man. And some cats
have done that. Steve Ferrone was like a fashion model part-time when he was an average white man. I heard human catalogs posing with clothes on. He was a handsome dude.
They people think the influencers just now came along. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Guys have been, especially musicians and artists, they've been influencers. They've been doing that.
Go back to Miles Davis, like in Time magazine and in ads for cool cigarettes and all that. Yeah. Miles was iconic before anybody even used that word.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Let me address some of this stuff that's been coming up here. Somebody asked, I think it was Rashida asked if I still have that Walter Hawkins and the Love Center Choir record. Yes, I do. I have it on CD. Somebody asked, somebody said, did you work with Prince on it? I don't know if you would call it work with him on his music, but did I? Where is it?
I'm looking. I was going all the way back to.
Did you write any songs with Prince?
Yeah.
Oh, like Super Mario P asked.
Oh yeah, that's what he asked. No, well, nobody really writes songs with Prince. What happens is you let a good idea out into the ether, and Prince says, "I don't mind taking that." Just so you know, let's see.
I was going do we want to go all the way back to the top? Because Diane and Eric both had some great questions earlier.
Okay, well, go ahead. If you can find them, then let's shoot some of these down. Some of them were for you, Calvin.
Yeah, they were for both.
Yeah.
Diane and Eric, your first questions got bumped off the screen, so you might have to re-ask that. This one I think is probably for both, although the example is given for more Calvin. That's from Eric, the drummer at my church. Great drummer.
Eric Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh, this one you got up. How do you feel?
Yeah.
You have a crowd of people with phones around you playing. Like you go through that a lot, Mike?
Me? Yeah, I hate it, but I've learned to kind of I try not to get too aggravated, but you know, I've even on tour at Solo Sound, sometimes I'll be like, hey, what's the dude's name? Hey, Ken Burns. Enough of that.
Yeah, Ken Burns.
And then I'll ask Janine, our tour manager, look, will you go tell that dude to, like, I understand a few minutes here and there, but
yeah,
you know, record the whole show.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, recording the whole show, but even recording the whole show, I'm like, you know, you pay $50-$60 to come to a concert, and then you'll stand there and hold your phone all night.
Exactly.
You know. And as a musician, you know, when I went to concerts as a musician, you know, I'm going to learn. I'm going to listen. I'm going to take notes. And nothing I capture in my phone is going to compare to what I take in here. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to translate. It's not going to sound good. It's not going to translate the same.
Nope.
So, you know, it's like, you know, you got to be inside the moment. They didn't have. No, you hear guys talk about when they would go hear Tony Williams. You hear, you know, and all the lessons that Dennis says when he saw Tony Williams play live. The lessons he got from him. He wasn't looking at it through no phone. He was taking it in. You know what I'm saying? Right. He was soaking all of that in. You know, and with the phones, I just feel like, you know, guys are doing it because maybe you want to get what the guy's playing. Cool, you know, but what you end up getting is just a bunch of guys that just really can mimic some other guy, you know, and they really got they got no heart and no soul of their own, you know. It's a compliment for a guy to be like, oh yeah, I'm playing a Calvin Rodgers lick, or I play this, I got that from Calvin. It's a compliment for me to know you admire my playing enough to maybe try to figure out what I'm playing, but I don't want you to try to be me. I want to inspire you to be you. I want to inspire you to be. I want you to be like, man, I gotta get good. This guy makes me want to get better. This guy makes me want to play, makes me want to go home and work hard, you know. And that's what I want to. That's what I want to do. I don't want to build a clone. I don't want to do that.
I'll say it's much more aggravating playing with your idols in the room. Down at Bunkers, Ricky came and sat in before. He like a few months before he passed. He came down to Bunkers. I don't remember. He might have been in town with one of the Winans.
Okay, yeah, he was playing with BB Winans for a little while.
He was the MD. Yeah,
he was his MD.
And they came through Bunkers and hey, we got Ricky Lawson. Ricky Lawson is here. Yeah, come on, man. And man, his pocket was so strong. He was so relaxed but tight. I mean, it just he was
so a brick on top of that boy's pocket.
Yeah, he's one of them. Tony Williams came through there one night. Dennis, Steve Jordan. I've had to play in front of the dudes who influenced me to even do it. So, you know,
that's some pressure, man.
The phone is just a minor aggravation. I'm just like, why? Why go put this crappy video up, you know, on YouTube, and then nobody can really even tell like that.
To do what? To prove you were there?
I'm like, I get it, fanning out, but it's, you know. But yeah, as far as like the intimidation factor, I'm past that. Billy Cobham came through one night. I'm like, man, like, you know, I back when you remember when Dennis was sick
Yeah.
And somebody, I think it was John Blackwell. He was down at Bunkers. He said, man, you should call Dennis, man. He's, that thing happened and he was, he wasn't doing so well for a minute, man. You should call him. I'm like, what am I going to say to Dennis? So I get up my nerve to call him. And because I'm like, well, I mean, if he's really in bad shape, who knows? He might die.
Yeah.
So I called, hello? I said, yeah, may I speak to Dennis Chambers, please? Who's this? I said, my name is Michael Bland, sir. Michael Bland, the drummer? I said, man, I've been trying to get in touch with you for the last 3 years, man. I had a gig. Man, what are you? I said, I heard you almost died. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm good now, but he talked with me on the phone for like 30 minutes. I mean, I just mostly just sat and listened, but I don't. In my mind, I'm like, I'm still not. I don't think of myself on that level,
Dennis is one of the ones. He's one of those guys, man. He's such a giant, and he knows it, but he wears it really well. I got a chance to hang with him, and in a couple of years ago, I did PASIC in 2018. Mm-hmm. I did PASIC, and Dennis was there closing out the events, playing with Victor Wooten, and so he comes into town early. And Pearl puts this thing together for, a select few of the guys, and Dennis is there, and I'm there, and there's like one other very young guy there that really just kind of like Pearl was like, some of the guys at Pearl was like, we're gonna bring this guy here, and there were quite a few heavy hitters. Todd Zuckerman's there, Dennis is there. And myself and a guy named Aaron Smith. Aaron's from like Indianapolis. He's a young kid playing Pearl drums. He's a bad dude. But we're hanging out, and I know, and I'm like, first of all, I saw Dennis, so I'm standing there and I'm waiting to talk to him. He's one of the reps or executives at Pearl, got him hemmed up in the corner, and so I was just standing there on the side, and he points at me, he goes. And I'm like, whoa. So he's like, and I'm like, Mr. Chambers. I'm like, my name is Kai. He goes, I know who you are. Yeah. And so, so he was very kind to me, but I could really tell the young guy was really in awe. He didn't even feel, I could tell he didn't know even where to start with talking to Dennis. And Dennis warmed up, treated this guy really, really nice. He knew that this guy was in awe of him, and he was just kind to him. He let him sit. He pulled the chair out next to him. He's like, "Hey, man, come on, sit by me." And they're talking stuff on the phone. I'm like, and every time I've been around Dennis, I've seen him around now. I've been around him a few times now. Every time I've seen him around people, I always notice how he knows who he is in the room, but he doesn't make you feel inferior. He doesn't make you feel like, yo, man, yeah, I'm Dennis. So, bow down, kiss the ring. He doesn't make you feel like that. He makes you feel very, just at ease, man. Take it easy. It's cool. Man, let's talk about some drums. Let's hang out. Mm-hmm.
And I'll say that pretty consistently about most of the cats on that level. Tony Williams was the coolest. He called me on the phone like we knew each other. I was just like,
really?
Yes, sir. Sure, no problem. I'm stunned. Like, this dude was killing it with Miles Davis at like 17, 16, 17 years old, just blazing it, So,
Mike, you got a little bit of the same thing happening, though, man. I mean, to be honest, there wasn't a time, man. I've played that Diamonds and Pearls field a million times, and oddly enough, my buddy, do you know Rex? Have you? Rex Hardy used to play with Mary J. Blige.
I've heard his name.
He did American Idol. He's a DW guy. He plays DW, and they have this thing called playlist. And it was like 10 songs that like super influenced you, super changed everything up for you. He plays Diamonds and Pearls, and he's talking about how he's on tour one night. I guess he was playing with Mary, and he goes to talk about how he met you. He saw your setup first, and then he realized that you were playing, and someone, he saw like your initials on it, or saw your name on like the gear or something.
Okay.
And he was going like, man, this guy was just really cool. But, man, in the 90s, you know what I'm saying, there wasn't a drummer. Like, it was people, I remember being at school and telling somebody, like, I play drums, and they go, can you do that fill on the Prince song? Like, people that knew nothing about music, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was their gauge. Like, how good are you on drums? Like, I think I can play. Can you play that one thing that happens on the Diamonds and Pearls song on Prince Diamond? So that was when I was growing up, that was like a bar. That was for people that like, they wanted to know how good you were. It was like, and that was a field we practiced, man. That triplet thing, it wasn't being played then, So, I mean, you exhibit those same characteristics of those guys, you know what I'm saying? So it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if Dan hadn't prepped me, hadn't given me like the heads up, like, man, Michael said hello, he loves your playing, man. He thinks I'd be extremely intimidated sitting on this call, man. Because
that sounds crazy to me.
And it does. I get it. I get it. But again, when we're talking about those guys and the characteristics of those giants that we aspire to, and the ones that we were inspired by and influenced by, they exhibited these same traits. You know what I'm saying? They never made you feel inferior. You know what I'm saying? It's like a giant guy. Tony Williams. I never had the pleasure of meeting Tony Williams. So I've met some drummers who were giants, and they acted like they were.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
And I'm not saying that's not a good or bad thing. I'm just saying sometimes you walk in the room and they're letting you know, yeah, I'm who I am. And it's guys I have a ton of respect for, guys who've influenced me, but they weren't very kind to me when I got a chance to hang out with them.
Can I name call for a second?
Please, I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. Because I think this was like in '97 or so. I was went to a Yamaha thing. They had some new hardware. It was during like NAMM, so they had their own special events happening. And Yamaha's roster had everybody: and Ndugu, John Robinson, Rick Murata, man, so many cats. Oscar Seaton, bunch of dudes. And for some reason, Dave Weckl just kept kind of like ice grilling me. Like, just kind of give me some kind of bad vibration. I don't know if he was trying to figure out who I was, or he decided he didn't like what I did, or he just didn't like me, period. So I never spoke to the cat. I just kind of left it alone. And he started playing something, and Rick Murata walked in and said, "Hey, why don't you try playing a groove for once?" And then he turned around and he walked right to me. He said, "Michael, it's so great to meet you, man." And I got to know him really well during that time. And he still sends me Christmas cards sometimes. I'll get one from Rick. But the crazy part was there was an exhibition going on after that in this auditorium. And I wanted to know it was J.D. Blair. It was J.D. Blair and I think it might have been Victor. And they were doing their thing. And I got to meet Terry Lynn Carrington that night. But the lick was Dave Weckl was standing kind of close by. And Steve Gadd from across the theater said, "Hey, Michael, hey, man." And he comes all the way to the other side of the place to shake my hand and kind of chat for a hot minute. I'm like, I never met this dude in my life. And Weckl was looking like, I think he just, it was just like, to this day, I've never had words with that dude. I don't know what his problem was, but So that was one situation I had that I remember very specifically. It was like, this dude is, he's smoking his own stash, or, it's like he can play, but he ain't one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know. And somebody else who I won't name, but I'm sure if I mention his name, you know who it was. But he's kind of notorious for just being kind of a hater, just being kind of like, his ego is just like, he can play, can burn it down, but it's just like, dude, if nobody wants to hang out with you, how are you gonna gig?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, playing a gig. I remember at one point, like when I was touring, one of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever gotten was the guy that was R. Kelly's music director. His name was Donnie Lyle, and he says to me one week, like,
"Oh, the guitar player."
I was like, "The guitar player, yeah."
Yeah.
So I'm talking to Donnie. I was doing something, and Donnie was like, "Yo, man, like, what's up with that, man? What you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm just chilling." He was like, "Yeah, but man, nobody's gonna dig that what you're doing. Like, man, people want to get along. They want to be on tour with people they get along with." And then he told me, he said, "You can play." He said, "But," he said, "I have met a ton of guys that could play just like you that no one could get along with, and they all sitting at home right now. Don't be one of those guys."
Why, did you have an attitude, Calvin? What was?
I didn't have. No, I was just like, I don't. Maybe I was like being a prankster or something, or doing something like just being silly. And he was just like, "Yo, man, like, but yo, that's like, you got to be able to get along with these guys that I was giving the guys a hard time about what I wanted to do, or maybe we were gonna try to figure out something to eat or something."
Okay.
And I was just, and he was like, "Yo, man, you want to be able to get along with guys, man. Don't be one of those guys that nobody wants to be around. You'll be at home,
Sure.
guys that can play." Man, he was like, we're going on tour for a year and a half. I got to take into consideration when I hire a guy, not just how good he is, but I got to take into consideration whether or not he's going to be a troublemaker, whether or not he's going to cause problems, whether or not guys going to be on the bus fighting, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So,
yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I've had definitely some moments that I wish I could take back,
Yeah.
And fortunately, there was somebody around to tug the back of my coat and say, "Hey, that you don't want to do that, man, because you'll find yourself home and broke." I had a situation. One of the first tours I did when after Prince fired us was with a French artist named Franz Gall. And her band was me and Sonny Thompson, the guy who taught Prince coming up, who was the bass player with the NPG. And David Sanchez, who had just played with Sting and Peter Gabriel back to back, keyboard player and guitar player.
Okay.
And who else? Herman Jackson from Stevie Wonder's band, a keyboard player. So it was like some cats that were really, like kind of heavy. And Franz, who was a nice person, but I was very opinionated about, music and, what, and I didn't really mince words. And she had some idea, and I was like, no, that's dumb. That's not going to work because, and David called me in my hotel room and said, "Hey, man, come down here for a minute." And I went in his room and he said, "Hey, listen, you know what? The best thing you can do when an artist is trying to express themselves is listen and be willing to experiment."
Yeah.
Like, you can't just, you can, but that's not going to work so well for you in this business. You need to remember that you're here to support, And at first I was like, I got, inside my dandruff was coming up, but you know what? It's like he was right. And I had to capitulate. I said, "You know what? You're right. The thing I'm not supposed to be there. I'm not there to tell an artist why it can't work. Yeah. I'm there to help figure out how it can.
How to make it work, yeah.
So I took that with me. That was a very, that was one moment I had where it was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah. You're like, this is you everything that's on your mind, you don't need to tell.
Indeed.
It's like, so whether I agree or disagree, from that point forward, I just whatever you want to do, I'm here for you. And I try to support it. And if I think I got a good idea, or if I think I have a better idea, I've learned how to communicate in a way that's not so incendiary and confrontational. But I just, in my life in general, I think I've been a truth teller, and that's backfired many times. More so because of my approach, because I feel like people are just people. It's just me talking. Why should you have get any more upset with me than you would with anybody else for just saying? But people ain't like that. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people in the music business have very fragile egos. So, it's if you want to be on, you got to learn how to talk to people and how to get your ideas across in a way that doesn't make everybody in the room feel like they're this big.
Yeah.
So, we all have learned lessons in this business, Cal. But I will say, on the prankster side, man, my first tour with Prince, I try to be the last person to go to sleep, because them dudes, they were always pranking, trying to take pictures of you when you sleep, and
oh wow,
you look out and you're drooling. The next day you see 5-6 Polaroids.
Yeah, Prince the worst of them though?
Huh?
Wasn't Prince the worst of them though? Wasn't he the worst prankster?
Not really with me. But I'm a big boy. He didn't. And he didn't know me well enough to know what I might or might not do. So, but no, just Miko and Levi just taking pictures and I was always looking, trying not to get set up. I was 19. Those dudes were all 30 years old.
Wow.
So I was trying to stay away.
You started with Prince when you were 19?
Yeah.
You never heard that story, Calvin?
No, I was getting ready to ask him, but the thing I was getting ready to ask, like, how many times have you had to tell the story, and you're about to add one more to it, because I'm just interested in how this whole thing came about. 19 years old.
I was the short story is that I won a drum contest in 1986 called the Twin Cities Best Drummer Contest. It was put on by a music store called Newt Capet. And actually the guy who designed Prince's cloud guitar worked at Newt Capet. So they were like the giant of the Midwest, like the baddest music store that, they're like, I would go there and be playing on the new drum sets, and Bongo Johnny would run me off the kit. Hey, you got to change the heads when you get finished. Get out of here. They'd run me and my friends out of the store because we'd be in there, treating the merchandise rough. Okay. And so I enrolled. I signed up for the contest and I won. I took first place, and they gave me a brand new set of Yamahas, or not Yamahas, but they had some sonars. Like it was a kind of not a student line, but a little the next level up from there. And I really liked those drums. So one of the judges to the contest was a guy named Bobby Vandell. I mentioned him earlier. Big influence. And he was playing with the baddest band in town. It was called Dr. Mambo's Combo. It would still be playing now, except for COVID. That's actually also the place where I met Prince. So he had finished the Love Sexy tour in 88, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think I was 18 going on 19. I mean, he just kind of came in the club and sat in, and right after the sound guy, Cody Anderson, came up and said, "Hey man, I think Prince is going to offer you a job." I'm like, "Why would he offer me a job? I ain't nobody." And sure enough, I mean, that's exactly
what made him say that. Like, what happened that he said that to you? Like, what made him say that to you?
He said he saw Prince looking at my hands. We were playing like a slow blues song, and you know how a lot of drummers, they can't play slow.
Yeah,
you know, like they can't play solid and slow.
Yeah,
you know, and I was already shedding with the click. I was already trying to get, because I'd listen to like Motown records and go, the tempo ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
I got to be able to do that. So I wasn't going to be satisfied with myself until I could stay at the same tempo the entire time. You know, because I record the gig every week on a cassette player. Yeah. And so that's what I was after. I'm like, I don't want my time to move at all. And so by the time I met Prince, I was right, like, kind of in the middle of it. And it was like a boom, back, like a slow blues. And we played, at some moment came where a lot of drummers would maybe speed up a little bit. And I guess Prince looked right at me like, ooh, like everything fell into the right spot. And Cody said, man, he looked at you at this moment where, you know, and I could tell, like, there's just something happened. He heard something. And so, you know, after that, he started inviting me and some of the other cats in the band out to Paisley Park. You know, we heard the Batman record before it came out. He threw a party for Bon Jovi, and Living Color was, we got out there after the gig. Living Color was playing, man, Will Calhoun.
Will Calhoun.
He was, man, he was rifling, man. They were just kind of just jamming, but I think they were playing Black Magic Woman, but it had gone into this whole other abstract, you know, but they were killing it. And Prince just kind of told them to stop, and we got on and started playing. And he said, we were just grooving, and he looked back and he said, "You looking for a job, son?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I still didn't catch on, you know. And by the time he made a formal offer, like called my mom and dad's house, you know, it was like, okay, I guess this is serious. And I had started college already, and I didn't know anything, man. And I remember asking Prince, I said, "Do you think I'll have time to finish my fall quarter?" And he just started cracking up. He said, "I think you're going to be too busy."
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think you might be too busy for that. And then the next thing we did was we shot the Party Man video. And then we played the Saturday Night Live 15-year anniversary. We played Electric Chair. And that dovetailed into, wow. I'm trying to remember what happened right after that, but somewhere in between, during the winter, we shot Graffiti Bridge, and then we started rehearsing for the Nude Tour in 1990. And, in between was when we found Rosie, and Tony Damon and Kirk joined the band as dancers, and all of that. It was just, I don't know, man. It just feels like ever since the day I remember sort of just submitting to music as a thing or a force or an entity in my life, all the paths just lined up. Like, all I had to really do was just say yes. You know?
I don't know if you're a preacher, but you're preaching, Doc.
Oh, Michael's a preacher. I've been telling Michael for a long time he's going to come preach at my church. Right?
But man. The funny thing is, I went to watch meeting with my dad, the Midnight Musical, and the Old Saints had seen me on TV playing with Prince, and they were ice filling me. The old ladies, they just
out there playing that secular music.
Young man, didn't I see you on television playing with Prince? I said, yes, ma'am.
What was you doing watching it?
That's exactly what I was thinking, Calvin. But I respect my elders. I didn't snap out like that. I said, yes, ma'am. Yes. And the whole time I was there, I really looked at it like, because people always had something to say. I'm like, listen, if I worked for Honeywell and I built, the the detonators for bombs that were sent overseas to kill people.
Yeah.
Are those deaths my deaths?
Yeah.
You know, am I responsible? So that was my rationalization for a lot of the time. But I mean, I'm gonna be real with you, Calvin.
One of my buddies on here, he said, I still studied that clip. My buddy Jeremy Sanders, he's from Houston, he's a friend of mine.
Oh,
he got a son. He got a son that's actually playing now. He said, I still study that clip of Michael Bland playing Baby I'm a Star on YouTube.
Yeah, that was a good one. But by then we were in Japan, so that was the tail end of the tour. It was tight. That band was vicious, man. I mean, of the bands that I wasn't in, I probably would say the Love Sexy band was my favorite. But
really,
yeah, I mean, with Sheila and Levi and Miko and
Eric
and Bliss, and man, that band was cold. But
wow,
I don't know, man. I guess that's the other reason why I take music so seriously, because so many good things, have come through it for me in my life. I mean, you know how it is. It's your social outlet. It's your livelihood. It's your, it's spiritual. It's visceral. It's cathartic. You can get your mind straight. I mean, music is such a healing thing in the universe.
And it's powerful, man. It's powerful. I tell people all the time, it has the ability to bring people together in a way that no other tool does. We don't have. I got a buddy that's a friend of mine, man. He plays percussion in the Isley band, and he's from Cuba. He speaks like this much English, man. We can barely understand each other, but he's a percussionist, I'm the drummer. And so we've established this incredible bond. And we established this bond immediately. Now, he's been playing with the Isleys for about 3 years now.
Rayford's still on that gig?
No, Rayford is not there anymore. So I've been playing with the Isleys for about 10 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah. So, but this guy that's playing percussion, he's been with us for about 3 years now. He's from Cuba, lives in LA. His English has gotten better, but when he first got to us, man, he knew like 5 words. You know what I'm saying? Like French fries, yes, no, and like 2 other words. But we always, man, we were able to communicate. We always, we became buddies like instantly. And the thing I realized was that our love and our passion for music made us patient with each other. And the reason I said that was because he would be trying to talk to me and tell me something. And because I cared enough about him, I wanted to make sure I got whatever he was trying to say.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So he's trying to figure out words. He's trying to figure out what he's trying to say, whether him trying to ask me what time he's supposed to be downstairs or what he's supposed to wear or whatever. But because this was my brother, we established this incredible bond that was formed through the music that we played. Mm-hmm. I was patient with him and his lack of being able to speak my language, and the same way, and vice versa. So, and I'm going like, this is music that's doing this. This is music that's got us patient enough with each other, because that's what love is. It's basically patience. It's got to be like, man, you got to have whatever it is. You got to be patient enough to get you over whatever is blocking you from getting along with a person. So you want to talk about black and white people, we talk about music politics. We talk about black and white people getting along. You know what I'm saying? All this is just people not being patient enough to figure out what the issue is. If we were talking to each other and being patient, trying to understand, this is the point I'm trying to make. This is what I'm trying to say. And then I get what you're trying to say. Here's my solution. Here's what I have to offer. And this is what I have to offer. And when I say this is what I have to offer, I mean this is what I have to offer. This is how I can help. And then, that helps me. Maybe it doesn't get me to where I need to get, but it doesn't keep me where I am. You know what I'm saying? So if we were able to be patient with each other, man, that we will all be able to love each other. And so I'm looking at this, the most powerful tool I've seen. This fingernail clipper that's randomly sitting on my floor tom right here next to me.
All right.
If they put a commercial up right now to sell this fingernail clipper, what are they going to use to sell it? Music.
Of course.
It's in everything around us. It's in everything around us. Yeah, right. It's in everything around us, man. You know, and so that shows how powerful it is. They want to sell a car, they want to sell jewelry, they want to sell a phone, they want to sell glasses, iPods, earpods, computers, microphones.
What's incredible is that they want to make you believe music is dispensable, disposable, but they can't do nothing without music. They've managed to, you know, basically.
And bro, how are these people getting through this pandemic? People have been staying sane from music. Yeah. It's been the only thing that's keeping people from not going crazy, because all the musicians and all the creatives are stepping up. DJs are going, well, I can't go nowhere. I can't gig. Let me give it away. And I saw DJ Jazzy Jeff talked about Jay Dillard, and he said, man, listen, whatever people have, whatever you have that people will pay for, sell it, and the rest, give it away. Yeah. He say, man, don't die with music inside of you. And that's what all of these artists been doing during this pandemic. Everybody's just like, yo, man, I ain't got nothing to do.
Right.
So let me turn the camera on.
That's
man,
right.
Let me turn my speakers on. Let me turn on my, you know what I'm saying? Let me turn on let me turn on my mics, man. Let me spin.
Yeah.
Let me just get back to doing it for the reason I started doing it in the first place, just because I love it.
That's right. Can I double back to a point real quick before?
Yes, sir.
Before I forget. What you said was real important, man, because I've learned as I've grown as a human that the most valuable thing you can give somebody is your time.
Your time. It's your time and your words. You can't get it back.
But to do that, you got to love somebody. That's the thing, is that people you love, you'll take the time for. Because time is the only thing you can't get back.
Can't get back. You can't get your time. You can't get your words back.
That's right. Yeah, right. Exactly. Communication is irreversible. Once it's out,
it's irreversible. It's out. It's once it's out. I tell people all the time, people that I'm close to, people that I love, I don't talk when I'm angry, because I don't want to say something out of anger.
Yeah,
absolutely. Even if you forgive me, even if we get past it, you know what I'm saying? Even we get over it, that's somewhere going to still be in the back of your mind.
That's energy you let go that you didn't.
It's energy you let go. So I have a lot of people around me that always are like, well, you get quiet. I hate when you shut down, because I'm angry and I don't want to say something that, you know what I'm saying, could damage our relationship for an eternity. You know, sometimes I get so upset. I could get so upset that I maybe I can't control my temper. You know what I'm saying? My thoughts are all over the place, you know, and something that just drives me crazy about you. It doesn't need to be said though. So I'll be alone until I calm myself, until I bring my temper down, and then we can talk, you know. But you're right, man, Tommy. And when you get, and as we getting older and we seeing everything that's going on in the world, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. We're talking about, you were talking about playing with George Benson, and I was getting ready to bring up, and made me think about my great friend Kahari Parker, who passed a little bit over a month ago.
Right. You know what? For some reason, he and we would Facebook back and forth from time to time. I really didn't know him, but then I looked him up at some point. I was like, whoa, this dude,
Kahari,
he was serious.
Serious, man. Phenomenal player and a great guy, man. Great guy, and you know, was just one of the most incredible drummers and musicians that I've ever known, man. And he was that dude. was one of a kind. And he passed, man, 46 years old, came home one night after a session and just didn't wake up, had a heart attack in his sleep. He played with Benson. He was touring with George Benson. He was playing with, it was 2 gigs that he was going back and forth between with George Benson and Jeffrey Osborne. So he was a phenomenal musician, man. But we think we got tired. And the thing about it was, I saw Kahari. He FaceTimed me 2 weeks before that. 2 weeks before he passed. And we were doing the same thing we always do. Man, we're going to get together. We're going to get together. We're going to make it happen, man. We've been saying it, man. We're going to finally make it happen. We didn't. And here we are talking about him. People are now, Kahari, rest in peace.
Yeah.
We don't know how much time we got, man. There's a pandemic going on, coronavirus,
Yeah.
Session. We got fires all over the place, Man, we don't know what you just don't know how much time. And when you come to that junction, when you start realizing as you get older, you're like, man, I don't know how much time I got. So I'm being really, really, really careful with who I spend it with, who I lend it to.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because it'd be a shame, be a shame that you go away and everything, all the ideas you have, they just still here. They with you in the casket or in the ground.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's I mean, one of the first things I did was I was on tour actually with Soul Asylum when COVID started really gearing up.
Yeah.
Like our last date was like March 13th, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
We had another week to go, but every gig got canceled. Yeah. Then we heard South by Southwest was off. And so the bus just went back to Minneapolis. And that first week, I was like, we had been on a tour bus for like a month and a half. So, and also sometimes the satellite didn't work. So I was shaky on like what was really going on. So it was really like, I got off the bus and into the van, and my wife kind of caught me up to speed. She's like, first off, you're on a 12-day quarantine. Oh, it was March. Thank you, Jesse.
Jesse knows.
So the only thing I really could do was for some reason I got on YouTube and found Kind of Blue. And I must have listened to that record for a week.
Wow.
And I hadn't really listened to it since I was in high school. And there's so much going on with that record. I think that the next one that messed me up was Talking Book by Stevie. Man, I was crying, man, because you listen to a dude who's got the first synthesizers available.
Yeah,
like the whole thing was just so surreal to me. It's like, how did he do this? How did he get his head in such a space? But I'm not so sure Stevie's from here to begin with.
Man, I
had
agree with you.
A crazy dream. Like after we did the Prince tribute at the Excel Center, the October of 2016. He had died in April. That's another one who there's many things left unsaid. And I did a session with him a couple months before he passed. And I've said this before. I looked in his face and I was like, he hasn't been taking care of himself. He's either been staying up too many days in a row. He hasn't been eating right. Like something was off. But I had seen him in that sort of fragile state, off and on the entire time I knew him. Sometimes he just didn't sleep for days. And so I convinced myself like, oh, he's just, probably just, exhausted. So I didn't, there was no alarm going off in my head. And that was crazy. I mean, that really, it's like, there's so much I needed to say that I didn't. And I'm thankful that Sonny did get a chance. Then I just told the story last week about how Sonny caught him. Prince used to like to come down and see us play at Bunkers with this band, with Dr. Mambo's Combo. And Sonny caught him as he was leaving the building. And I could hear it from the drum riser. Sonny was like, hey, Prince, he said, I love you to the universe and back, man. And Prince said, "I love you too, Sonny." And he, cool jogged through the kitchen and out to the parking lot to the limo. And that was like the last time we saw him,
Wow.
And Sonny came up with Prince. They were like, teenagers. I think Prince was 15 and Sonny was 16. And they got on the public transport on the city bus.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny said, Sonny was on the bus and Prince got on, and they both had guitar cases. So Prince came back and sat kind of close to Sonny, and they just said, "Well, what kind of acts you play, man?" And they just started talking, and they just hit it off right away. So I'd like for Sonny, he knew Prince before he was famous or anything.
Yeah,
their bond was different. Like they knew each other as people. And, but Sonny Thompson, is he's like my musical soulmate, man. You were talking about how music is a form of communication. That's a guy who I know what he's been doing through the course of the day just by playing with him. I pick up all sorts of like communication off Sonny. Like, we've been playing together so long. It's like he's really like, I know when he's upset. I know, I just know from how he's playing and from sharing that space with him, because not every musician counts. You know what I mean, Calvin?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
we count.
Yeah,
we're acting as one. We pitch it straight down the middle, and we're after the same thing. It's very important for me in my life. I want to be with like-minded musicians.
Yeah.
Or also I'm happy to be in an environment where I can learn something new. I'd almost rather, but if it's not going to be an expansion of my arsenal, then I need everybody to be with me. I don't want to have to be trying to explain to somebody why it's so important that you play correctly. With Soul Asylum, with Ryan Smith and Jeremy, we all know our job is to be bulletproof, so that Dave, if the main guy is the only guy making mistakes here and there, that's fine. It's his show. He can mess up all he wants. But us, no. We don't make mistakes. And luckily, it's not like pulling teeth. It's like their standards are my standards. So you know what I mean? It's just everything is just so much better when everybody can agree that this is this is not. It can be fun, but this is not for fun. Like this is a serious thing that we're doing. People pay their money. You know what? And Levi and Prince had a similar conversation. I saw Levi talking about, he and Prince had this conversation. Prince was like, people are paying money to see this. We may enjoy what we're doing, but we have a responsibility here.
Yeah.
It's serious business. So if I seem, a little, strong about things, it's because this is serious. This is not.
It is.
I love music and I enjoy playing, but what are you saying? What are you bringing to the crowd? What are you trying to communicate? If you're communicating, just silly vibrations and like no real, you like it's as bad as having poor nutrition. You know what I mean? You can't eat Quincy and ho-hos and expect your body to run right.
Nope.
You gotta play music. You gotta don't complain first off that you're not in the place that you want to be. But it can be fun, but it's not for fun. Did I say that?
Dropping gems, right? Yeah, okay. You did, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, drop it,
Calvin. I feel like
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
But that's just my philosophy, and I know I got some pretty hard and strong lines about it, which is why it's like some people can deal with me and others can't, and I'm fine with that because you can't make me change the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
So if we feel differently, then you do your thing. Do what makes you happy. What makes me happy is slaying it. So
I know, yeah.
I'm like, man, I can laugh after that. Ooh, man, that tape was hot. Now I'm ready to laugh and giggle and carry on. But while I'm on stage, and I'm there for it, man. I'm after the golden chalice every time I pick up the sticks, even at rehearsal. It's because you rehearse the way you're going to perform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you don't develop the discipline.
For years, I tell guys for years, like sometimes I'm like I spent years of being like, how do you create parts? How did you get into playing records? What made you create parts? Well, I was playing every week, and I was serious about playing every time I sat down. Every time I sat down, I'm thinking this is an opportunity for me to learn something about what I'm doing right or wrong. This is an opportunity for me to continue to work on my craft. This is an opportunity for me to figure out what I'm trying to build, what I'm trying to say, what I want people to get every time. So it's like, I don't slack off. You just slack off on that. And what do you know? How do you know what you're missing? How do you know what you're not taking away? Because you never know when the time is you're going to sit down on your acts and you're going to have that one moment that's going to be like, whoa, that's got to be my thing now. You know what I'm saying? Right. That lick you played with Prince, I'm sure that wasn't your first time playing it when you played it in the studio.
Not exactly. I had done things like that before, but I didn't even have time to really plan it, Calvin. That song was cut in 2 takes. And the only differential between the first take of Diamonds and Pearls and the second, 2 different things. He dropped a beat. He said, "Oh, make that a bar of 3 or whatever," right after we come out of the bridge the next time, and put something in that hole to play something.
Whoa!
I said, "What do you want to play?" He said, "Something memorable." Y'all ready? And he turned the talk back off, and the whole time I'm playing, I'm like, "What am I going to do?" And that's
what he said. Put something in that hole. He said, "What am I going to play? Make it memorable."
Yeah, play something you'd want to hear.
Man,
he was big on that.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps, man.
Well, all right.
Jeez,
he was like
way to step up to the plate, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. With these things, man, we just never know when it's and those are the moments though that you've been preparing for. Even if you never played that lick before, you were preparing for that moment every time you sat down on the kit. Every time, wherever you were, every time you sat down, you were preparing yourself for that moment. And who knows what moment, could have, maybe if you would have taken it lightly, what you would have missed out on, what you would have lacked in that moment. So
it was also, I was very much a product of the 80s. And there were a couple of times that happened during the 80s. Like, there was a song called "Don't You Forget About Me" by Simple Minds. The drummer was this dude named Mel Gaynor. And he played this fill that all my friends were knocked out by. Like I recognized the moment when it came, but I didn't realize I had the potential for it to manifest through me like that. Like that was really like a moment where I learned something about myself. And part of it was go for it. Go for it. I was especially with Prince, I was so self-conscious about just exploring in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And Prince would be, just put your hands down and play, man. I mean, that was always his thing. It was like, listen, just make a sound. If you find the city, then you can find the street. We're just playing with it right now. But I didn't want to be that dude, but it's music, man. Music such a powerful thing.
Powerful, man.
I mean, it can teach you about yourself. It's also a matter of how open you are to it as a thing. I mean, we know the science. The world is tone and vibration only.
Yeah.
I'm touching this computer, but atoms don't even actually touch. They've proven it. Like when you touch somebody, you're not just touching the surface of them, you're touching into them.
I just want to say, Dan, I know you're about to say something.
Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
I have to say this. One of my very close friends is a guy. He's a producer named Aaron Lindsay, and he said to me, he told me one time, he gave us this analogy about how powerful music was. He said scientists put water in put water inside of a freezer, 3 different freezers, and they played certain music, certain vibrations around the water as it began to freeze, and you could tell the music was so powerful that it shaped the forms of the ice as it, you know what I'm saying? So they had like rock music, metal music, that stuff was jagged, it was sharp. The orchestral music, the classical music has smooth curves, lines and indentations and things like that. So, man, he was saying, and he says, well, the body is what, 70-80% water? Mm-hmm. So what do you think it's doing to you on the inside? You know what I'm saying? How powerful of a tool, how powerful is what you take in, to the point where if music does that, if music does that to water when it freezes, and this is just water, what is it doing to you? So to your point, man, it's again how powerful it is. It's really, really powerful. Mm-hmm. So we always have to be conscious of what we're taking in. What's coming in inside of us.
Absolutely. Well, wow, we're all in agreement to see now.
Yeah.
We're moving, and we I didn't know what this was going to be like, Calvin. I thought it was. I really didn't know what to expect. You and I have never met before.
Yeah.
But we're familiar with each other's, work.
Yes, sir.
And it's always hard to say where the cats are coming from, where you coming from, man. But I mean,
yeah.
I'm happy to meet you, and I'm a true
Same
fan.
Here.
I really am.
That's a very humbling, very humbling, very, very, very humbling compliment.
I was like, what are we going to talk about? Like, I'm not really like, what I'm happy about is we didn't talk about one piece of gear.
Is that what it's usually about? Is that what you guys usually
I don't know. It's just some cats really,
we are going to talk gear for just a little while because Dan was telling me you're not recording drums at home.
Well, I've been telling myself for years, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. But to do it right, it's going to take money I don't have in my pocket.
Google says you're worth $60 million.
Well, okay.
That's an inside joke between Michael and me.
It's all tied up in stocks in the market, and that money's for when I get real old and can't do nothing.
We're gonna have a conversation offline about this, Mike.
I can talk to you. Well, okay. Hey, listen. You know what? I'm open. You catching me when I'm open to new information, to anybody else's perspective, man. So, yeah, tell me what you have to tell me.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sir. And Dan was saying, he said, man, Mike has cut everything but drums in his studio.
It's true.
He said he's cut vocals, keys, guitars, bass. I think he said you had an accordion in there one time.
No, but I did come with a banjo.
Banjo.
Yeah, he did. I mean, the other thing is just that I'm ready for this gear combo. I don't know if I trust myself as an engineer yet.
Yeah.
And I know that I mean, we have our rehearsal space is set up. I can cut drums down there if I need to, mm-hmm. But also it's just that's, I mean, a friend of mine, actually, a drummer named Noah Levy, great drummer, plays with Brian Setzer.
Okay.
And he just built a room. He built the room that I want. His room, I mean, it's just beautiful to look at. And then the drum sound he's getting is incredible. And I guess what I don't want is to send out stuff that doesn't sound good and ruin my own reputation. You know what I mean? Like I don't trust myself yet. But I'm realizing that the wave of the future is to be able to do it from home.
Man, do it from home, man.
I
I
mean,
mean, I'm just, I'm just imagining what the world would be like if we were able to get more of those monumental type feels with you just being able to go down to your basement 5 feet away, man. How much better would music be for drummers, man, if we had more Michael Bland records, man, if he could just cut them at the blink of an eye, somebody could send him tracks, So
you convicted me now, Calvin. My soul.
Hey,
I understand what you're saying, and it's real, man. I need to take that aspect of my career more seriously. I've farmed it out, and I've farmed it out mostly out of convenience, because then I can just concentrate on what I want to do. But you know what? I mean, other people do the balancing act. I can do it also.
Yeah, you can, man.
I
mean, dude, I've been recording remotely easily 10 years now, probably longer. I've been doing it, and I started with renting a space over a church. My best friend was a minister of music at. I would do sessions there, and I would have to have him engineer them, But then I just had the guy start teaching me. He's my best friend. Just started teaching me. Now I engineer my own sessions. I do my computers right next to my drums, and keyboard and mouse is there and everything. And it's a little tedious, and it gets, it took me a little bit of time, but by the time I had the studio in my own place, like I was pretty much, and there's some workstations out here that are super, super simple, and I'm using Pro Tools. I know a lot of drummers that are doing sessions use Logic. But then I've got a buddy, one of my great friends, Danye, is an advocate for Studio One.
Okay.
He says it's super user friendly. He himself believes that that the actual workstation sounds better than Pro Tools. So he's an advocate for that, But I'm a Pro Tools guy. I do my recording in Pro Tools. I do my editing in Pro Tools. It's just what I learned. But it's not what I don't get the calls that you get, and I don't have the reputation that you have. So I haven't. I didn't. I'm saying that. Listen. I'm saying that, Mike, because I didn't. I didn't spend it. It didn't cost me a lot, man. What I put the effort and energy into was making sure the room sounded good, making sure I had good drums, knowing how to place the microphones and make sure I had great microphones. You know what I'm saying? I'm not using any outboard gear. You know what I'm saying? So whatever I'm recording into is just going straight there. And so it wasn't complicated, man. I spent more time making sure I could, I knew how to get stuff out to people, making sure it was correct. I spent more energy and time focusing on that than I did like making sure everything was, but I know what you mean. I know the concern you have with not wanting to tarnish what the standard that you set, because the bar is certainly high when your name is mentioned. The bar is certainly high.
Yeah, but people are expecting something, and it's like, what's going on with the snare sound? Why didn't they use it just there are so many different ways to record music. I mean, your choice of microphones,
I've had engineers. I've had good engineers. I've had really good engineers tell me, "Hey, man, look, if it don't sound good going in, it don't matter what it's going through."
Right.
So
okay.
You put it through a $500,000 Neve console. If it sounds like trash going into it, nothing's gonna make it sound better. No pre is gonna make bad sounding drums sound good. And in my world, and think about it, even in the world when you talking about all the music that was pop that influenced us, man, it was recorded poorly.
That's fair.
That's a word right there. One microphone back in the old days.
One microphone.
Or two.
Yeah, it's about placement is a lot of it.
But it was about the performance.
That too.
So I'm not saying that how it gets recorded. I'm not saying that's not important, because it is, but I'm saying it's more about the performance, and you got the performance part down, man. So nothing you sound is going to sound bad. Nothing you send out to anybody's going to sound bad, because you're behind the kit. So, wow. I mean, that's about 80% of it right there. As long as you got microphones and something to record it into, man. I'm just saying.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So
I didn't know if you were talking to me. I just said sure.
He ain't going.
I'm talking to you. I'm good with Michael.
I know.
So when you send drum tracks out that you've recorded at home, you're not really doing any post-production on them, right? So you're just sending out raw wave files. So it's not about being if you can engineer recording a vocal in Pro Tools in your home studio, you can engineer recording drums. It's just more channels at the same time. But as long as the mics are set up properly.
Yeah, man, vocals are 10 times harder to track, and punch and edit than drums are. Especially when you're doing it yourself, because you know what you played.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to
Go ahead, man.
The other thing I was going to suggest, and I'm being presumptuous on behalf of both of you, is
Ash Smash says I'm creating a monster. I just want to acknowledge this comment, because what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to provoke Michael to get him recording at home, man, because I want to hear him playing some more. I want another record on I want a record on adult contemporary radio with a monster drum fill. Like it was like man, that should be happening now. That's the kind of music we should have on the radio.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry,
no, it's okay, please. But what I was going to presumptuously suggest is once you feel like it's safe to travel, I'll come get you and we'll ride down to Calvin's home studio and you can check out what he's recording on at home and see if you feel comfortable about that. I think,
we're going to have
Calvin like that.
What'd you say?
Man,
you know Calvin like that?
No, but I know that he respects Michael Bland enough for that.
Bingo. He knows that much. That's a smart man right there.
All right.
So
it's a smart man. But man, we're gonna have a long conversation, man, because we're gonna have some conversations. This is easy. This is easy peasy.
Okay.
I mean,
I got a lot of people in my corner who want to see me also kind of get through that hurdle and over that hurdle and into the actual doing of it. So,
man, I'm telling you, this might be a little TMI, but it's nothing like cutting drums in your draws. I tell people all the time, like, man, I send you a track back. If it's super, super, super funky, that's because I hadn't been nowhere yet. I hadn't even showered or brushed my teeth yet. I just went straight to the drums.
I said the same thing. I love it. I love being able to cut guitar without having to put on pants. It's
man. And I can take my time with the track. I don't take long, but I can take my time. I do it as many times as I want.
Sure.
Make sure I got the drum track. Again, I'm all about recording. For me, it's about it being here past me, beyond me. After I'm gone.
Sure.
So I want to put out great drum tracks. I want them to be great for forever.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Maya says extra sexy. So there were so many great questions in the comments, and I've not
the one that the dude was asking about about collaborating with Prince.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll just say straight up, P Control. There's a loop of me and Sonny just jamming in the middle of that song.
Which song?
The Gold Experience. There's a song called Now that Prince just went, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Whoa.
How about 3121?
3121. We were just getting tones for the engineer. Prince stepped in and was like, what's this? Like, man, we just funking, man. Wait a minute. Wait. And told the engineer, like, hold up, we're going to roll on this. And me and Sonny looked at each other like, we just gave him another one.
Wow.
So it's not really collaboration. It's just, he jacked us.
I love that story that Jimmy Jam tells about how he'd be like sound checking on the keyboard, and Prince would be like, "What's that you're playing, Jimmy Jam? What's that you're playing?" And then the next day, Prince would have written a song that sounded a lot like what Jimmy Jam was sound checking on.
Exactly. And not only that, go and make it a hit and get money you couldn't get off of it.
Calvin, are you familiar with the Undertaker album?
No.
I'm going to send it to you. It's just Michael, Sonny, and Prince cutting stuff in the studio raw.
It wasn't even the studio. It was just like on the sound stage. Like we were set up to, I mean, actually somebody set us up. We went out to Paisley at like 2 a.m. and our gear was set up in the sound stage, full light. The lighting rig was on and everything. And Paris Patton, this filmmaker that Prince was using at the time, he was, there was, I think there was a stationary camera and then one moving one. And the whole Undertaker thing was, it was direct to DAT, to digital audio tape. Like nobody mixed it. That was just the board mix. And it you know, just for anybody who knows what it is I'm talking about, I mean, really, it's like no overdubs, just raw. We didn't discuss the set list. We just kind of followed where Prince wanted to go. And
an incredible album, man. You know?
Yeah, it really garnered him a lot of respect as a guitar player because some people, I mean, he still ain't been in the top 100 guitar players in Rolling Stone magazine.
I haven't. That's absolutely asinine.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, it's the most ludicrous statement ever.
Yeah,
I mean, Prince is a bona fide, and we talking about top 100. I mean, I'm going to go as far as to say, man, we can cut that down to top 25, top 20.
But they'll throw Kurt Cobain in there.
And there was silence. So
Calvin went to scratching his neck.
No, in answer to Chris's comment, they were going to, and Warner Brothers pulled it, and that was part of the stuff that got Prince mad at Warner Brothers.
Well, no, I mean, he just really just kind of, it's like, dude, you're signed to a major label. You can't just do an insert for Guitar Player magazine with original music and not expect them to say something. Prince, you're under contract. You can't just do that.
Yeah.
And he understood that much. When the real beef came, when Mo Austin was trying to tell him, I don't care if it's a written song or if it's something just rolling around your head. That belongs to us. That's what made Prince upset. Like, you mean to tell me music that I'm thinking about recording, you already trying to figure out how you That's what set Prince off. And he came right down to rehearsal with Slave written on his face the next day. And nobody asked him nuts. Oh, okay.
I'm trying to see if any of these great questions that we had are still here. But I think most of them have gone. One of them was for Calvin early on from
the Thief. You're funny.
Oh yeah, you saw that, Rashida.
Yeah. No, it was Patty.
Patty
who said that. Yeah,
I put it up for a minute. Diane asked Calvin early on, like, and this question could be for both. Basically, if there's any artist left that you haven't worked with that you wanted to work with, who would it be?
Yeah, there are a couple for me. I think at the top of my list would be Stevie.
Oh yeah.
Stevie would be one. Donald Fagen would be another.
All right.
Michael, you want to tell the story about when you were almost a member of Steely Dan?
That wasn't almost a member. These stories they take on a different shape as the years go on. It was just a recording session. What had happened was I met Boss Skaggs at Paisley Park. And a few years later, he tried to hire me to go on tour. And I was like, do I really want to play Dirty Low Down for the whole summer? Like, is that really what am I into it enough? I mean, Jeff Porcaro was a giant. And I got it. Like that dude played with, really great musicians and everything. And I don't know where it would have led, but what happened was I said, no, thank you. But the same guy was managing Steely Dan. And so he called later on saying, and I had gotten on tour with Shaka by that point. He called later on and say, hey, Randy and Donald, Randy was his name?
No, Walter.
Walter
Becker. Yeah.
Walter and no, what about Walter and Donald wondered if you'd be available to do a session with them. And I said, yeah. I mean, I'm not one of those diehard Steely Dan cats. Some cats, it's like they're all the way in. And for me, it's like, like I get it. I understand it. It just ain't my thing. But at the time, I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of legendary drummers playing with those cats.
Yeah.
Like, if I can play with the same dudes who played with Bernard Purdie, who played with Rick Marotta, Steve Gadd, Porcaro, yes, I want to be in that company. And by then, I think it was that might have also been around the time that was that when Dennis?
Oh yeah, that
got in on it.
Could be.
Now, what's messed up, I'll say, is that I heard that they fired Peter Erskine by fax. Right.
Savage.
Man, I'm like, what? So I think I had heard about that, and I kind of had a little funny feeling about it, but and by the time I got to New York, Shaka.
They fired Hal Blaine by fax too.
No, he played with Steely Dan.
Played with them. Yeah, he played with them.
Oh.
Can't nobody fire Hal Blaine.
I'm like, what?
Oh man. Anyway, I was in Central Park playing with Shaka, and after her, James Brown was coming on. And this dude who was photographing the whole thing was like, hey, I heard about the session, man. When is that supposed to happen? I was like, what session are you talking about? Well, I heard you're going to be cutting with Walter and Donald. I said, how did it even get out? I didn't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, man. I can't lose for winning.
That was before social media.
People are always painting it like with this heroic twist. And, I left Paul Westerberg's tour to sit and wait for that Michael Jackson gig to come. And it never came. And Paul called, and I went back on the road with him. And by then, the story had become that I turned down Michael Jackson to go back to work for Paul. I stepped out front of Tower Records in New York, and the fans were down the block. And a couple of dudes in the front said, hey, man, we heard you turned down Michael Jackson to come back out on the road with Paul, man. That's effing awesome, dude. And they started cheering and clapping. I was like, I just kind of did the Queen wave and went back in the store. I'm like, this is unbelievable. Nobody will let me fail.
Hey, man, some luck you have.
Well, yeah, some luck. I can't complain. The Lord's been blessing me ever since.
Has,
I've had some good days. I got nothing, man. I mean, this right here is a blessing. I finally got to talk to C-Rod.
Oh, man.
I got a brand new friend.
Well, yeah, I'm going and looking for some of the questions that we missed, and I think we're going to have to hit a lot of them in another episode with Calvin because
I talked too much. Calvin was supposed to have the
man, we got on and we went at it, man. I did see somebody ask a question about bass players.
Oh yeah, definitely that one.
I saw someone.
Basically, Michael was talking about Sonny. Like, who's your Sonny? Like, who's the bass player that really brings it out of you?
Man, there are a few guys, but there's one guy who just This guy just knows me backwards and forwards. Kind of like you were talking about Sonny. You said you can tell what kind of day he's had by his playing. There's a guy that just knows me really, really well as a drummer, and he capitalizes on it when we work together. His name is Maurice Fitzgerald.
I was wondering if you were going to say Maurice.
Yeah,
I've never heard of him, but okay.
You've heard him though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Maurice,
some stuff I've played
Maurice
you has had Maurice on it.
All right.
What would you say, Calvin? Go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I was just gonna embellish a little bit on that, and say, I kind of always feel bad when people ask me about bass players because I've been fortunate to play with a lot of really good ones, and
sure,
there are guys that just I really enjoy playing with, but when people ask me a question like that, I mean Maurice just. Part of it has to do because the guy raised me. He was responsible for me getting out on the road. He brought me to two major. He brought me to the John P. Key gig when I was like 19 years old. He took me to Fred when I was like 23. Both who I had meaningful, long-lasting career relationships with. With both of those artists. So and he taught me a lot. He taught me about playing with a bass player. He taught me about listening. He gave me a lot of music to listen to. He opened my ears up beyond gospel music, from a very musical perspective. And he, for some kind of way, he knew what I would take from that stuff as a drummer, and he knew when I would execute it. And so a lot of times we sit down and we play together, and it's just this thing that happens between us where he knows. He kind of knows what I'm going to do. He knows what I'm thinking. He knows where I'm going. So, but, there are a few guys, Tony Russell, who I tour with R. Kelly and with John P. Key is another one. This dude is phenomenal. Tony plays with Kendrick Lamar now. He's he's insane. He's an incredible producer as well. My boy, Derek Ray, who plays with Justin Timberlake. And then.
Oh, I've seen that dude. That dude's bad.
Yeah, yeah. Derek Ray is one of my favorites. Derek Ray, actually, they call him Swole. He's one of the most musical. He and Alan Evans, Snoop, are probably those dudes have the two biggest ears of any bass player I probably ever played with. Those two guys and Daryl Freeman, but it's kind of hard for me to count Daryl Freeman in there because he's a keyboard player by default. So a lot of the things that he hears comes from him knowing chord structure and things like that, But Snoop and Derek Swole, both those two guys, man, they're really, really phenomenal and fun guys to be around. Snoop is probably my favorite. He's just super fun to be around. He's hilarious.
Yeah. Same here, man. I've played with great bass players, So it's but I mean just. Sonny is the one I have this sort of symbiosis with, I mean, JT, and by the way, JT, you've been really locking lately, man. The bass player with Soul Asylum.
He's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he cut his hair too.
Tiffany's gonna be so upset.
Will be upset.
Yeah.
But I've been real fortunate. A lot of good bass. Charles Hayes. Great bass player. Yes. A lot of many local cats. Billy Franzi. You ever heard Billy Franzi play bass?
I have not heard him play bass. I know that he plays bass, but I haven't heard it.
He came up with Willie Weeks, so he plays like that.
Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Billy Franzi, so for those who don't know, as a guitar player, worked with Peter Frampton, Prince, and Jimi Hendrix over the course of his career.
Well, he definitely met Jimmy and hung out with Jimmy. Like Jimi Hendrix gave him one of his guitars, but the circuitry and the way it was built, it would only really work with the rig that Jimmy had for it. So Jimmy came back through town and Billy gave the guitar back.
Dang.
He's like, man, I don't want it if I can't play it. So,
Billy. So what I was going to ask you, Calvin, though, is for people who are watching, and for Michael, for that matter, what would be your favorite example of a record they should go check out with you and Maurice playing together? Like, what should I send Michael? Like, here's Calvin and Maurice really just like.
Man,
While you're thinking, I'll tell this. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll probably start with an old record from the church that we used to play it together, Bishop Larry Trotter and Sweet Holy Spirit. Either Tell the Devil I'm Back, or I think it's called maybe it's called It's Only a Test, or What's to Come is Better Than What's Been. But those two albums were like at the beginning for us. Those two records were at the beginning for us. We recently worked together on like on this Leon Timbo record, which was like the Leon Timbo record was like kind of like a love album. It's called An Imitation of Love, but it's kind of got this soulful indie type of thing. But it's just a different glimpse into the kind of musical conversations we have when we work with each other. There's also a few years ago in 2016, we played on a live record for Fred Hammond called Worship Journal.
All right.
And Maurice,
I love that record.
Was the bass player on there. And so
I feel like that record does not get enough love. That Worship Journal record. I feel like, because everybody I've played it for like hasn't heard it. They're like, Fred came out with a record. I didn't even know about this. And that's the one with the one that's like kind of almost quartet-y, The Lord Is Good on there, right? That's And then there's like a one that's kind of CCM, but then it goes to trap music at the end.
CCM.
Yeah. It's I love that record, and no one that I've showed it to has heard it. They're like, oh my God, this Fred record came out and was completely under the radar.
Yeah.
That's a great record.
I don't know if that had to do with, I think that was Fred's last album with Sony, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I'm not really sure, but yeah.
That's the record, Abraham. That's the one.
Father, Jesus, Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to show Michael the live in Chicago Fred thing that McQuitty was on, and Maurice is, but he couldn't abide McQuitty's snare drum. He had that. You told me you turned it off after the first like 30 seconds.
He was playing that 7x12 Pearl, that orange maple. Ooh, the snare drum. He was playing. No. He was playing Yamaha. So he might have been playing the Steve Jordan 13. But he played a really tight. He played like a 13-inch drum in his tune, really tight. And it just sound. I can understand. And then it made the drums just sound kind of thin on the album. So I can get that.
Here's the side note on that Steve Jordan snare drum. I saw Steve playing, and his had wooden hoops, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I said, And I think I called Joe Test at Yamaha. Yeah. And I said, hey, I know when y'all made them hoops, there's got to be another set somewhere. I don't know, man. I mean, I can check for you. And sure enough, they were sitting in Japan. I said, I'll take them.
Yeah.
I got them same wooden hoops. I'm like, they're not going to just make a set and just be done with it, you know. So I lucked out. Yeah. I actually like that drum, you know.
Yeah, I love the Steve Jordan drum. Yeah.
At some point, though, you got to listen to that record because the arrangements and Maurice's bass
arrangements and that band was they had Daniel Weatherspoon, who is one of my favorite keyboard players.
Mine too.
He was Fred's music director for a little while. Daniel Weatherspoon, Maurice, Joey Woolfolk, and those are all guys that I spent. Richard, yeah. But so that the core of that band. The reason I even started playing with Fred is because the core of that band, basically, we were spending a lot of time recording a lot of gospel records together. So, like, we did a Donald Lawrence record. That's probably another record I would speak about with me and Maurice on. It's a Donald Lawrence album, and it's called dang, I can't remember the name, but it's got the song "Healed" on there, and
I'll look it up.
I think it might be called "You Shall Live."
I Speak Life. I Speak Life.
I Speak Life. Thank you. I Speak Life. That record and Law of Confession are two. Law of Confession even more, but me and Maurice are on those albums. But we were spending a lot of time tracking sessions together, doing a lot of records together, and that's even how I got to playing with Fred, because me and those guys were playing a lot together. So, yeah.
This is a really great question, Eric Ballard's. I'm gonna run and pee real quick while y'all answer this question. But that's a really great question. I know we're over time, but I think if y'all have time to answer that, I'm gonna go pee real quick.
Yeah, this is gonna have to round out the night probably.
Yeah,
hopefully you'll be back from peeing, but before we have what they call benediction. Out of all the records y'all have cut, which one record has your favorite drum sounds? Did you have anything to do with the mixing process? Wow. Well, I never do. I mean, and I would say that my definitive sound, I mean, the sound that I'm known for is that Paisley Park sound. There was a granite drum room there, and so that's hard sound of the rock, of the stone.
Man, what was the ride you played on that? Do you know what ride you played? We're playing on Diamonds and Pearls.
Yeah, it's an Earth ride, man. I saw Dennis playing one.
What was it? So it must have that. So was it a natural finish Earth ride? I saw Dennis. I saw Dennis playing an Earth ride, and I had one for a little while. I played a few records on it, but I always wanted whatever you were playing on that Diamonds and Pearls, that ride on that album was
that was a 20-inch Earth ride. I had both, and actually, they used to make them brilliant for me.
Okay.
So I had the natural finish, but then I was like, the rest of my cymbals are shiny and bling, and I'm like, can y'all make me oh, sure, no problem. So they started sending them to me with the brilliant finish. I'm actually the only drummer in the history of Zildjian to crack an Earth ride.
Well, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
I really?
Yeah, we were on tour. I think it happened at Wembley Arena. And I was like, what's that? What sound? That sound? And it was just the sound of like two pieces rubbing together.
Yeah.
But, and I was like, I sent it back, and they're like, we're going to keep this. No one else has done this before. So they kept it. They got it somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, to answer your question, Eric, I don't really, my sound is kind of like my face. I mean, really, it's like, it just, I have this certain sound, and it seems like people can pick up on it no matter what, no matter how I was mixed. Some people can just recognize when they hear me. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Calvin, do you have anything to say about how people mix your drums when you?
Yeah, man. I was gonna say, man. I said that's just another great reason for you to get into home recording, because then it gives people a glimpse into what you hear. All the time when people send drummers things, they have what they have in their mind. But when we send it back to them and they hear the tone that we're thinking, whether it be the snare drum that we chose, or whether it be a very tight closed room, or whether it's very open, whether it's really big, it just gives us an opportunity to finally get involved in that. And so that helps a lot. To answer this question, I probably one album that everyone talks about that I played on was Marvin Sapp Thirsty. I like the sound of those drums on that album simply because they just sound like drums. They sound like good recorded drums. In gospel music, a lot of people had gotten into sound replacing and things like that, and it just kind of frustrated me, because I'm like, I don't spend all the time that I spend tuning my drums. I don't ask these drum companies for specific gear, and just spend all the time I do getting everything that I want, so that you can just go and throw something over it, you know. So Thirsty was a great representation of great natural drum tones to me. And it was kind of really, really close to the way I like to hear drums back. I'll probably say that one. There were maybe a few more, some studio records. I like the stuff I played on with Israel, Power of One, Israel Houghton. I like the drum tones on there because he's always fun to work with because we're always trying to try different stuff and he's always open to it. And probably maybe those two. Yeah, there are a few more, but
sure.
I think those two are really, really good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I had to pick a definitive track that sounds like me in every way, it probably would it'd be Green. Like that sounds like me. Like it just.
What about Sexy MF?
Yeah, I mean that was a bit more of a thing where Prince was sort of tapping on top of the piano, like it should be something like this, like a James Brown thing, but like kind of backwards, like if Dave Garibaldi played with James Brown type of thing. And so
Dave Garibaldi,
that snare drum, man, your snare drum on that track, man, is just like it set a precedent. I felt like Steely Dan like copied at least about 20 songs after that. I heard a snare drum sound just like that on Steely Dan records.
That's
but
fun.
Like, man, I mean the snare drum on Sexy MF is bad. I mean the groove is just dumb, no, but
that was the first time I got to talk to Dennis. Dennis called Paisley Park to make me send him a copy of the maxi single. Hey man,
really?
That Sexy MF? Yeah, I want a copy of that. I said, where should I send it, sir? Like 2 times, drummers on that level called me at Paisley. Tony Williams called me at Paisley Park one time too. He said, "Oh, hey, I just want you to pass a message on to Prince. Tell him me and Stanley Clarke want to do a trio with him." I was like, "Ooh, yes, sir. I'll tell him right away." And I went back out to the soundstage. I said, "I just talked to Tony Williams. Him and Stanley Clarke want to do a trio with you." And Prince looked for a minute. Then he kind of smirked. And he just kind of giggled. He didn't really say nothing.
That's crazy.
He was a funny dude.
Yeah, man. Those are Diamonds and Pearls, Sexy MF.
Okay.
Those are 2 songs, man. I've played that groove on so many records, man. I just completely stole it.
Can you shout out what records those are so I can go listen to them?
I wouldn't do that, man. Don't do that, Calvin.
I'm gonna send it to you. I mean, I'll send it to you, man. Yeah.
So one of the things I want to talk about the next time we have Calvin on the show, because I'm sure based on how this went tonight, I'm sure there'll be a next time. I know Michael and I would love to have you back if you're willing to come back. But I know if we go any longer tonight, I think Michael's gonna have me for dinner instead of the plant-based stuff. So
I got some Lucky Bird chicken nuggets over here and a garden salad.
So one of the things. Go ahead, Calvin. Sorry.
Go ahead. One of
the things I kept trying to like jump in, but then we've gone another place. That whenever you bring up like Diamonds and Pearls and that. So when I've been mentoring like younger drummers and I've given them examples of stuff like that, a lot of these young cats that weren't born until the late 90s, 2000s, and then are like, well, what's so special about that? People are doing that all the time. But
right.
Like when that record came out, nobody was doing stuff like that. And so I really want at some point, for them to hear from you, how game changing that was, because that's something I feel like it's just like when Michael talks about hearing, who did you say? Steve Jordan for the first time, and even like Clyde Stubblefield and John Bonham, like the stuff that came first, and because I just remember having people like playing some of that stuff for these young guys, and they're like, "What's so special about this?" It's like nobody was doing that.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, that it's every generation relates to what they relate to, man.
Yeah.
and that's fine. It's that Phil was my calling card for a good, how many years? The guy's laying down the first. Yeah.
Clearly still is, given that Calvin's brought it up multiple times tonight.
Well,
yeah, man. Yeah.
So,
it's still like, yeah. I mean, we don't. I know it's been said a million times probably to you, man, and I don't know. Sometimes I know that guys. I'm always cognizant. I'm always mindful of, like bringing up things that guys have done in their past, because I'm not a person that likes to live in my past. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm always mindful of how much I talk about what someone is doing. But so not to beat the drum, but I mean that track goes down as one of the most incredible R&B tracks ever recorded. Ever one of the most powerful drum tracks ever recorded. Everything was perfect about it. Everything was perfect about it. Yeah. I said everything is perfect about it 3 times now, just to make sure that it's understood. So,
well, okay, you go. Let's officially close the book on it with Calvin saying that.
But you know what that made me think of, Michael, is the example you gave me of another famous Prince song where everything was perfect about it, but there's a pause in it that shouldn't be. I love drummers that example.
Next song,
Morning Papers. Do you know Morning Papers, Calvin?
Who?
Do you know the song Morning Papers?
No.
It's a Prince ballad that Michael also is pretty famous for, and I'm going to tell his story for him because I haven't gotten to talk much tonight. Michael dropped the drumsticks at one point during the take, and Prince wouldn't let him fix it, so the pause is still there.
Really?
What happened was, back then I was rocking. I even had the hat on in the studio, and I had the headphones on the hat.
Over the hat.
Right. So I'm playing, and the headphones slip off, and they take the hat with them. So I'm playing for a minute without being able to hear anything. And then I stopped at a spot and reached over and grabbed them and put them back on and came back in. And Prince's like, yeah, all right, okay. No, that's fine. That's just fine. We'll leave that. Thank you, sir.
It sounds like it's supposed to be there. It sounds like it's supposed to be there. So
yeah, and he hated
Morning Papers
more than it was hard to get 3 takes for anything.
Really?
Prince was not. If it wasn't take 1 or take 2, his patience would start wearing thin.
Whoa.
So we had to be like, once we figured out how it was supposed to go, don't be having any glitches about the arrangement. What did we just talk about? you better, if you're not a genius, write it down. And I would sit behind the drums with my arms folded looking at it. And I mean, it just, yeah.
Dan, I know we've been on here 2.5 hours, really. But can you put that comment up that you just make? Can this be like the last thing? Can we talk about the kick drum pattern on Diamonds and Pearls, like the verses?
Sure.
Michael's like, it's dinner time.
No, it's all right. I actually had something a little earlier before the broadcast, so I'm not as.
Kim, if you're listening, feed him.
He said, Kim, if you're listening, feed him. No, I'm all set. As soon as we adjourn, I will be.
I'm looking for that 60 million.
Oh, she's looking for that. See, I hit that pretty well.
So
she don't even know where it's at.
It's a long story, but for a comment I was responding to on the internet, I had to Google Michael Bland net worth. And according to Google, Michael Bland's net worth comes up at 60 million, which is
and clearly, if I had $60 million, Dan believes the entire world ought to know about it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I want everybody to know I got $60 million.
At least I want to know.
Tell everybody about.
At least I want to know. I'm at least going to borrow some money or something.
Don't ask me in a thread on the internet, all right? Mia said Dan can't hold water. Yeah, all right.
I'm going to leave it alone.
All right. I mean, what's there to talk about, man? Really, it's just kind of what felt right to play. And Prince said, okay, cool. And one, or a one. A one. A 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 3.
Dang. How much did he guide the drum track, like working with him, recording with him? How much of that was him telling you what he wanted to play and you just, I mean, did he lead the narrative on what was played, or did he leave room for him?
Not really. So, I mean, that was an early one. That was the first time Sonny and Barbarella and I cut with Prince. They weren't in the band yet. We were there rehearsing for a whole other thing out in the soundstage, and we were getting ready to leave, and Prince just kind of came in and said, "You guys have to leave right now?" And not necessarily. I just have an idea I'm trying to work out. Okay, well, yeah, we can hang out for a minute. And so that's what happened. I mean, it took all of 15 minutes to get most of it together. And then he was like, can we just go ahead and record this right now? Just so that we don't forget. And so it happened very quickly. I don't know when he got Rosie on the track, but that was just the icing on the cake, And it went so well that we went back again at like 2:30 in the morning and cut another one with him, a song called "Live for Love," which is the last track on Diamonds and Pearls.
That's a great song.
So he was really, I think that was when we realized we had a dream team. We had a working rhythm section that he enjoyed playing with, where everybody's retention was so strong and we could keep up, kind of. It made it funner for him because those were less steps that he had to do himself.
Got it.
We really that rhythm section played on a lot of his music. Yeah.
So what I find amazing, and Calvin, you probably have a story like this too, but like Michael was 19 when Prince hired him, and Prince just said, "Go ahead and do your thing." And what Michael came up with was the iconic stuff at 19. Like, that's just a God-given talent. And I'm sure that you have a similar story, because you also were like in that same age bracket when you started cutting big records, right?
I mean, I started recording early. I don't think at 19, I can't think of anything that I played that I feel like was historical like that.
Did anybody else think that of something you did? Like,
I mean, I think.
What do you hear more about?
How old were you on the John P. Key?
I mean, John P. Key, I was 20 or 21.
I was gonna say, 'cause I don't know which record it was, but one of the songs that I played for Michael that Michael was like, "Dang, Calvin is killing this," was that "Right Here" on the Not Guilty album.
Yeah,
I don't know how old you were then.
Not Guilty. When we recorded that record, I was like 20. It's like 20, maybe 20, 21.
And you didn't.
I mean, the Marvin Sapp record that I recorded, the Thirsty album. I feel like that was kind of a moment for me. I was working with Aaron, and I had been recording a lot, but then Aaron was like, "Yo, I don't really like the whole robotic, mechanical feel," which is what I was kind of doing at the time when I was doing records. I had a certain kind of way I played live records. So I played it safe, very, straightforward. I was very systematic with choosing my fills and, things like that, and how clean everything was, how much of the pocket I stayed in.
Yeah.
And then this guy that was producing this Marvin Sapp record was like, "Yeah, man, I heard you playing at church, and I like the way you play there." Like, and I'm like, "Well, I just be having fun." He's like, "Yeah, I kind of want you to do that." I'm like, "I don't do that on records." And he was like, "Yeah, no. That's what I want you to do on this record." And even still, I was a little bit reserved until my buddy Derek Ray Swole, who I was just talking about, a bass player, the guy that plays for Timberlake, was playing bass on that record. And he was just like, he looked at me and was like, I dare you to play this one fill on this song. And I was just like, what I got to lose?
Yeah.
So I played it, but man, I mean, just listening to you talk about Prince coming in and be like, hey, do you have to leave? I want to work out this idea. And you saying like 15 minutes later, you cut a track and there's 2 takes. I mean, that's super, super like, it's extremely intimidating.
Calvin, don't feel like that, man. I mean, really,
it's super intimidating, man. I mean, I think I would believe, I would kind of like, I would feel better and believe in that. Like, you were like, oh, this song is going to be huge. I need to know exactly what I'm going to play. I know this feeling. But you saying, like, he's like, yo, man, play something in that spot, make it memorable. And this, between 1 and 2 takes, you were like, this is what you come up with. I'm like, good Lord.
And it was inspired by Joel Smith.
And it was
yes, and we talked about that. Yes. I mean, Tommy and Sonny were both there. I mean, if and they kept up. We were all moving as one. It was like, but when you're working with somebody who is so focused musically, I mean, and that's what Prince had, is just this tireless focus. Like he knew when to let people just kind of do what they were doing. And he knew when they needed more guidance or to step in. He really wanted the music to feel like something. I mean, I think he recorded a lot of music by himself out of necessity. He had a vivid imagination, and some of that stuff you can't really explain. To people, or it was easier to play it himself than to try to explain.
Yeah, than try to get it. Yeah, I get that.
But I mean, like for instance, what's the record? The soundtrack to Under the Cherry Moon. I don't know how much of Prince's music you know, but I figured out one day listening to like the first 3 songs or so that he cut the drum track first. He had all that music in his head, and he went through Christopher Tracy's Parade, New Position, I Wonder You, and Under the Cherry Moon. He played the first 4, the drum track, straight down on the reel of tape, and then went back in and filled in
and added all that stuff.
So somebody who can do that, construct it in their mind, and then go, it's like, I guess why would you bother explaining to somebody if you can just knock this out right quick? But even as a producer, I find I get exhausted of my own ideas sometimes. I need a shot in the arm. I need somebody else to come in and twist it, or like my own ideas become redundant at some point. So I think that's what he found, was like really some cats who musically could handle what he was trying to say at that point in time. Because I mean, that was the most organic any of his records really sounded, if you go back, like, except for maybe way back, like Dirty Mind or something towards the beginning. But a lot of those records were so laden with electronics, and the Lynn machine, ruled a lot of it for many records, So I think, fortunately my time was together. So he found a drummer who could play consistently enough. And it's no slag on anybody else. I'm just saying what I did spoke to him in that way, where it was like, I could lock in a way where he just said, listen to Michael. He said, listen to the drummer now. He, if anybody started to get a little shaky, Prince would say, listen to what he's doing. So that's how much he trusted me, but that's also, it's like, oh, great. And now I got to make sure that everything I play is super solid. He's making everybody else listen to what I'm doing. So that's,
shows the power, the influence of the drummer, man. I mean,
you're going to play in whatever tempo I'm playing in anyway. So I guess, or what? The power of the drummer, Have you been MD on some of the gigs you've been on?
Oh Yeah. I was
Okay.
I was Fred's music director for like 12 years.
Okay.
While I was with him, and became his writing partner, his co-producer, and
Right on, man. That I did not know. I got to play with Fred one time, and it was at the Apollo 70th anniversary. We played He Lives.
He Lives.
We played He Lives, and you didn't play on that, did you?
I didn't play the original one, no. That's McQuitty.
Oh, yeah. Right on, okay.
Yeah.
I just played it like whatever arrangement they gave me. And, Fred just kind of, yeah, all right, drummer. Like he could tell I had studied. I got to speak to him at the NAMM show one time also. But nice guy. I saw him with Commission back in the mid to late 80s, playing bass, victory, mine.
Yeah.
Oh, that is Fred Hammond. Yeah. He's a great guy. Yeah.
He is. I can't even begin to talk about how much I learned from that guy. What I was able to take away from him and his brother and their family, man. Way beyond music, which is always cool. That's something great that happens when music ends up being a bonus. You get all this other stuff that comes with these life lessons.
That's right.
People can pour into you and impart and kind of help you from making some of the mistakes they made.
Yes.
Like that. So. Yeah.
The other thing I like about Fred's music is that it's nasty, but white people like Fred a lot. White people like Fred's music.
Because he light skinned.
It ain't really you funny. Because he's crossover. You see his skin tone? He got the right complexion for the
And we played this thing called Big Church Day Out in I think we were in London somewhere. I forget where we were, but it's like 60, 70,000 people, man. And we were the only contemporary gospel act over there. Everybody else was like CCM,
and y'all turned it out.
Yeah.
I know
we had fun. Yeah, we did. We gave them straight church.
Straight church.
I'll send you the video of that, Michael.
Okay.
I just want to
say one other thing, Calvin, before we adjourn. I had a similar experience with this Johnny Lang record called Turn Around. I cut that in 2006 in Nashville with Johnny. It was a kind of a contemporary gospel record. That's what he meant for it to be.
Oh, yeah. Johnny Lang. Yeah.
And,
in Nashville?
Sorry?
Was it in Nashville?
Yes.
Okay.
And, what's his name? Shannon Sanders, who at the time he was working with India Ari.
Yep. I know the guy you're talking about.
Drew and Shannon produced that record. And Johnny used to come when he was a kid and sit in with us at Bunkers, sit in with the combo. But my studio concept is very different than my live concept, or what I was playing with that band. And I got to Nashville and I was doing my studio guy. And he was like, hey, no. I want the guy at Bunkers. I said, what do you want that guy? He said, man, come on, man. I want the spirit of that. I'm like, man, for real? Like, yeah, man. So, yeah, he talked me into, just kind of going.
What's the album?
It's called Turn Around. It's actually he got the gospel album of the year.
You said turn around.
Turn Around, yeah.
We're going to have to get an email thread going for all this music that we're talking about sharing or something.
Right.
Yeah, he was like, no, don't play it safe, man. Come on, give me that, give me the drama. Give me the, the thrills and the spills. Like, he really was like, I want that. Like, when you're having fun with it and just kind of going for it. Like,
Michael.
That's not commercial. He's like, I don't care. So I did it, and it was really, an inspiring week of recording. It was, those dudes were incredible. Drew and Shannon were incredible. And Jimmy Anton was the bass player on those sessions. And that was the first time I just kind of threw the rule book out and just kind of played, that's what he wanted. I was like, first I was embarrassed. Like, you can't just, I'm stepping all over this. It's like, no, man, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. So I understand, Calvin. But yeah, I've been in that position before. You were saying earlier, and somebody was like, "No, bring more of what you do there over here."
Mm-hmm.
But
so, Michael, quick question.
Yeah,
do we have any word yet on when the pandemic is over? Is bunkers gonna go back to being bunkers? Because I really wanted to bring Calvin up there sometime.
Whoa, you bringing Calvin up? He's gonna have to play a whole set.
I'll tell you this. I wanted to surprise you with him when we had your birthday party there, but I didn't realize Calvin don't look at his Facebook Messenger like that.
People be like going off on me about Facebook Messenger. To me, the greatest thing in the world now is on iPhones. It gives you a update like about how much you pick up your phone weekly. And man, I'll just be like, I spend way too much time on my phone, so I turn all my notifications off. If it's not a email or a text or a phone, my actual phone ringing, man, I'll just be like, I don't like spending all the time. Turn all those notifications off, man.
Look, Facebook is a time and energy suck, and we know that.
Be careful, because that's why the show is successful. So too much bad about it.
Yeah, well, we're trying to do something important for the people, and they're still giving us a hassle.
That's true.
Yeah, man.
Like we both get notifications saying, like we breaking some sort of, community.
Well, but I mean, you got friends from you got 5,000 friends, and they all from all over the world. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning somewhere, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon somewhere else, and and so people they send you a message, and I'm like, man, I don't. That's not what I'm on Facebook for. I mean, I appreciate some people come on there and say some really nice things. That's cool. I really appreciate it, but I just can't. I don't want to be spending my day. I don't want to look up at the end of the week and find out out of 7 days I spent 36 hours on my phone. That's insane. That means I probably lost some money somewhere.
You know what?
That's a lot. That's way too many hours for me to be like, hey man, that's over a day. Or nah. So
I'll just say this. I got two things to say I got one thing to say to Calvin on that, and one thing to ask Calvin. Back when email was brand new, like I finally got an email account. Man, I checked it maybe twice, and then I didn't check it for like 3 months. I'm like, I haven't given my email really out to anybody. So I get on an A&R guy from Columbia Records who was trying to get in touch with me to put me on a Christina Aguilera record.
Yeah.
And man, I was doing the mad dash trying to get at this dude, and they didn't want to hear nothing from me at that point. So
yeah, that's pretty much all I check, because I do a lot of business on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. People, hit me about recording and tracking and things like that. Okay. So, but man, I mean, when I open up messages, I'm looking for those messages. Like that's what I'm going to my inbox for.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going looking for. If somebody asking me about a track or something, somebody wants to record. Other than that, man, I may go right past it. So.
Same here, but I gotta. There's a lot of Prince fans on Facebook, and I feel bad if I just don't say nothing.
I will say this, and this is no shade to Calvin, but Michael is really good about replying to like the fans that get in his inbox or drummers that want like advice or critiques. And that's no shade to the people that don't, but just for the people that are watching, that's something that Michael does that he doesn't have to do. Is he takes the time out, And when people Facebook message him, he does I know a lot of drummers that have reached out to him like, Michael, what's your advice about this, this, and this? And he actually puts in that time, which is a sacrifice. So that's
if I have the time, I'll give it. I mean, also, the one thing I won't do, and I don't like send drumsticks out in the mail. Like I'm not going to FedEx.
I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a thing.
No, they be on that, man. Send me the drumsticks. I've had guys hit me up for asking me to send cymbals. I had a guy ask me to send him a drum kit. Like, man, send me a drum kit you're not using, man. I can't afford one. That's the other thing
is that you some people. I mean, you got to be careful who you open that that channel up, because some people will take everything you got if you offer it, you know. So the other thing I wanted to ask before we finish up, is Harold's Chicken still in business in Chicago?
Yes, sir. And when you come to Chicago, I'm gonna take you to the best one, man.
That ain't the one where I might get shot out front.
No,
they're all the ones where
you might get shot at any Harold's Chicken. Right?
No. I got a pretty good one over in the suburbs, man. It's really good.
Because I'll tell you, one time I played in Lincoln Park with
ain't no jackfruit though. It's chicken, man.
Right? Are you gonna go off plant-based for Harold's?
I know.
Kim, are you still listening?
What I was going to say, I just want. It doesn't mean I can't dream.
He just want to smell it.
No, I just say.
You can get some okra. They got like fried okra and fried mushrooms. It's the same breading.
Fried in the same grease they fry the fish and the chicken.
It's okay to have a cheat day, Michael. It's okay to have a cheat day.
If I have a cheat day, my wife will be there to see exactly how much I cheat, and she'll be cheating too. Like the other day, we had Impossible Burgers from Burger King, and they came with mayonnaise on them, and we're just like, well, all right. I mean, we come this far, we're not gonna scrape the mayo off just cause.
Yeah.
Oh, because the mayonnaise is animal based. I get it. I didn't realize it was that strict. I see how.
They don't do nothing. Man, that's
Godspeed, Michael.
Hey, listen, man, it's a war every day. Don't think every time the Popeyes commercial comes on, I got to turn the channel.
Yeah.
With actually the Burger King commercial with the brother talking about 2 Whoppers for $5.
2 Whoppers for $5.
I'm
gonna pull off before they get this.
Uh-huh.
That's funny.
But, the Impossible Whopper, actually, it's not bad, man. It's not bad.
Maya, are you meatless? I didn't know Maya. I thought Maya still ate meat. I don't know.
So, I mean, it's all right if you do. This is not like a religion. Yeah. Like I'm not like doing it for PETA. I'm not doing it because I love animals. I think animals are delicious. And this is a matter of, for 50 years, Calvin, whatever I wanted to eat, nobody was coming between me and whatever I wanted to put in my system.
I got you, bro.
But the older I get, it's like it's just, it's harder on your innards. Who knows what? I mean, there's no history of heart disease in my family, but who knows what's happening? I could be the first. So, it's about making some changes. And somebody told me, well, what you're really doing is the ITAL diet, which is like the Jamaican, the Rastafarian diet, where like you don't eat things, you don't eat dead things, and
okay.
I swear what literally happened was there's a place up here called Devani's.
I love Devani's.
Not hoagies. Yeah, they're delicious.
Yeah.
I was eating a chicken parmesan hoagie, and a voice inside said, "How do you expect to live if you're only eating dead things?" And
this is the second time you preached tonight.
I tried to ignore it. But a good friend told me, when your consciousness is raised, that's a signal to step up. Like, wow. You can't know something and then live a life of contradiction. Like it's like you like something in your being won't really allow it. It will cause dysfunction. If you're smarter and able to do better, and you don't, So I really had to take that, and I kind of just capitulated, and I decided my wife is going to decide what we're having, what we're eating, and what we're not eating, and because you can't leave me to my devices, because I'd have barbecue every night. And this is my wife's Korean, and I'm black, so you best believe there's been some pork going on in this house.
That's what she said.
Great. I think I'd like to hear Dan, say what you got to say to Brother Calvin. I've already told him. I don't know you, but I love you already, brother.
Well, love you, man. This was a pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys for having me on. This was fun.
Thank you for being willing to do it.
this is the longest we've ever gone over, so I appreciate that. Before I do the wrap up, Calvin, is there anything else you wanted to say, or anything else you wanted to ask Michael, or anything else you wanted to cover?
No, man. I hope you guys have me on again, man.
Absolutely. Oh, we will.
This was such a great hang, and I love talking music. I love, fellowship and brotherhood and positivity. It's enough people doing and posting negativity. So I appreciate this kind of conversation. I appreciate this kind of energy. I dig it. So,
well, that was actually a huge inspiration behind us doing this. Is there's other people that do similar things for negative reasons, and I saw that, and I was like, if people can get this much attention doing it for negative stuff, we could get at least half that much attention doing it for positive stuff. And
I agree with that, but as you know, Dan, we talk about some dark subjects on this show on the regular. Because it's crazy out there, Calvin. You know it.
I do.
You're in Chicago. You know it as well as we do.
Yeah,
it's crazy right now. And there's a lot of civil unrest, and rightfully so. It's a civil war out there. People don't realize it yet. This is war, man. And our people are getting killed every day for doing nothing. And on the show, this show has acted as a conduit for, discussion, constructive discussion. It doesn't always, we don't always leave with on a bright note, but we work through issues here, social issues, and we try to educate anybody who doesn't know, and I guess all I'm saying is it's nice to take a respite from that with you. Yeah. Where we didn't really have to get into all of that. But you can have some kind of feeling about those things also.
And I was gonna say I put some of that in the promo, so next time we have Calvin on, we can get into that kind of stuff with him if it goes there. But tonight,
let's do it.
It didn't, and yet tonight was still just as edifying as some of the other discussions. There's been a lot of great wisdom shared and a lot of great stories.
Sure.
So on that note, first of all, so most first Tuesdays, not necessarily every first Tuesday, but most first Tuesdays, we do something called Musipolitics Classic, which is just Michael and myself, and we invite our past guests to drop in for a minute, 5 minutes, half an hour, however long they want to. So I will keep you posted on that, like I do with all of our past guests. Anytime you want to drop in on a first Tuesday, you're always welcome. You got something to promote, you just want to say, hey, you want to stop by for 2 minutes, you want to stop by for an hour. We do that on first Tuesdays unless we have a more pressing topic to cover. And we are definitely going to do another Calvin Rodgers episode if Calvin Rodgers is willing, because we barely scratched the surface tonight.
All right. The other thing is,
go ahead, Michael.
I would say, do you have anything you want to promote? You want to drop? You want to tell us about your websites?
Follow me. Check out what I got coming out. This has been a year where I've been working creatively, so I got some stuff that'll be coming out towards the end of the year, maybe towards the beginning of the year. I'm working on a few projects, so if you want to check me out, you can find me at Calvin C. Rodgers on Facebook, or Calvin R_Rodgers. Rodgers is with the D. Follow me on Instagram and everything. That'll take you to everything. That'll lead you.
All right. Well, maybe let's have you back on when you're closer to dropping all that.
Absolutely, I love it.
Fantastic.
So real quick, so here's what we got coming up the next couple weeks. So next week we have, for those of you who've been with us since the very second episode when we covered the George Floyd protests right after they happened. If you were with us then, we had some of the protest organizers and some of the first people on the streets in Minneapolis, many of whom are friends of Michael and myself. Jasmine Koenig is going to be back. She was one of the first people on the street protesting, and she was one of the first guests of the show. So we're going to be doing a follow-up on what's changed in Minneapolis since the first George Floyd protest, what haven't changed. That's next week. Then the following week is the start of our 3-part series featuring Black women politicians. We've got Judge Dominic Collins from Texas. And then after that, we'll have Representative Sheila Stubbs from Wisconsin and Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have in between there on the 6th will be Music Politics Classic on October 6th. If any of our past guests feel like stopping in, including Calvin.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't let that. Yeah, don't hold back, Calvin. Whenever you feel the spirit.
Yeah. Any first Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And then we'll have another hopefully lighter episode on October 13th. We're going to have comedian Abby Crutchfield, who's been on Colbert, Kimmel, Conan, all the late night shows.
Oh, nice.
She's going to be on. Look who just joined us, and we're wrapping up.
What? Tried to get in here.
Right. We're just doing the wrap up. And look who's here. So,
Spud. It's my brother right there.
Yeah.
We were talking about you earlier. Talking about that Kim Burrell album.
Oh, right. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, but we was talking about you. What you gonna do about it?
So we won't keep you any longer. Get your Music Politics merch. Like and follow. I hate to end this broadcast because this has been so great. I'm trying really hard not to end it, but we can't keep anybody any longer. Michael's ready for his plant-based dinner. We've had
an hour and 15 minutes over.
We're an hour and 15 minutes over.
Only for C-Rod.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all see me keep glancing over here at my TV because I'm watching this Clipper Denver game. So I'm trying to see who finna get my Lakers.
Exactly.
So,
Let the man
I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a Lakers fan, so I'm hoping, and it's looking like Kawhi about to get sent home. So if there's any Clippers fans out there, sorry for ya.
So please, everybody, if you're joining us for the first time tonight, like, follow, subscribe, join the Music Politics Facebook group. Every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. with Michael and myself. And on first Tuesdays, you might see Calvin again. Plus, we'll do another Calvin episode in the future. Thank you, everybody who stuck with us. Thank you so much for watching. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Lake Show. I see Maya just said Lake Show. The Lake Show, baby. Lake Show.
Are you a Laker fan, Maya?
Yeah, she put Lake Show.
8 minutes of play left, bro. Yeah,
that's a Clipper fan talking right there. That's a Clipper fan talking right there. I ain't got nothing to say.
That's funny. Well, all right. Yeah. May the Lord watch and all that.
Thank you guys so much for ending the broadcast.
Blessings.
Bless you guys.